What up, everybody? Good morning and happy rainy, wet Friday. Dan Kasper Show's on the air. Radio dials. Got a couple of those babies at 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also available online, sportstalk1051.com. You got the Sports Talk app. Video stream up and rolling as well on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube over there. What up, everybody? Appreciate you making us a part of your starts on this Friday before we head off for the weekend. If you're up and at it already here this morning, what do we got on the good old game plan for us? Opening day in the books, and it was pretty quiet. Pretty quiet for the Brewers yesterday. Blanked by the Chicago Cubbies in Wrigley Field, 4-0. Corbin Burns taking the loss, 5 innings pitched, 4 earned runs, just 3 Ks, also issuing 3 walks. Stroman, 6 innings pitched, 8 strikeouts for him for the winning pitcher. But Brewers starting off their season in the loss column. They get the off day today and then picking up the rest of their series starting tomorrow. So, but opening day in the books, baby. Now we can, maybe do a little overreaction and we're not going to do that after one game, right? We're not going to do that. So hopefully not. Hopefully nobody's panicky too much or anything like that. But nonetheless, it was a fun time yesterday over at Hy-Vee. Big thanks to everybody who stopped by. Maybe grabbed yourself a brat or a dog, some Man Cave Light and such. But it was good to catch up with some of the regulars. Also meet some of the newbies. New time, first time I've met some people. So it was a lot of fun. Big thanks to Hy-Vee for hosting us, Mike Star Market, brats and such. So a lot of fun, a little good time. Later on today, I know we don't have a Brew Crew game going on, but if you got nothing else going on, like from about, let's say 1 to 3, you can stop by West Side Bar and Grill on the west side of Eau Claire. We'll be hanging out over there too, just because they got the Man Cave combo going on. Got the Man Cave Light and a Man Cave Brat. Got a combo going on over there. And if you take your receipts, walk it on over to Mike Star Market. Might get a little wet, but just a few steps over to Mike Star Market. You can buck off a package over there too. So how about that? Not a bad deal. So maybe we'll see you later on this afternoon. If you got nothing else going on, hopefully we'll see you there. So, but we'll talk some baseball. Twinnies did pick up a win yesterday in opening day against the Kansas City Royals. So, got some teams that are obviously on pace to go 162-0, and some who are on pace to go winless this year. A little overreaction. But we'll take a look at the rest of the series too for the Brewers going up against the Cubbies. With obviously Woodruff going to be getting the start tomorrow for the Brew Crew, going up against Steele and such. So, yeah, if you want to do some like first impressions or first thoughts, beginning thoughts on game one in the books, you can start to hit us up with some texts or tweets or comments on the video stream. Yelich got on base a couple times via the walk, did strike out, or first at bat of the season, got the K and struck out looking, but took a couple walks there. Hoops wise, was last night, Bucks versus Celtics, and what could be a preview of the Eastern Conference Finals. 140, $140 to 99. Boston Celtics dominating the Bucks. Tatum going off for 40. Brown went off for 30 last night, 70. Half of their points coming from their two main players out there. Giannis, 24 points to lead the way for the Bucks. After that, not a whole lot. Chris Middleton, 13. He left the game a little early. Got some stitches in his upper lip. Holiday coming off of his 51-point performance, just 6 points for him. Bobby Portis coming off the bench, contributing 12. So, with just 5 games left to go, the Bucks are still holding on to the Eastern Conference lead by 2 over the Boston Celtics. However, if it were to come to a tie-breaking scenario, Celtics have won the regular season series 2-1. And you look at these the 3 games that they've played this year. Go back to Christmas Day being the first one, Valentine's Day being the second one, and then yesterday, the third one there. Celtics have put up a good amount of points against the Bucks in those games. Christmas Day dropped a buck 39. Game 2 on Valentine's Day, which was a loss, they still dropped 125, and then last night a buck 40. So they've been able to put up a good chunk of change against the Bucks this year. So, and remember, Game 2 was an overtime game too in Milwaukee. Any concern, Bucks fans, not just based off the game yesterday. I know it was a back-to-back for the Bucks, Pacers the night before, then, coming home and facing the Celtics. But given what we have seen from this season series, if we were to look at the 3 games, is there any concern from you whatsoever about potentially meeting up with the Celtics, knowing that Boston got the regular season? But remember too, Valentine's Day, that's the game that the Bucks squeaked by when they didn't have Tatum and they didn't have Brown. Remember that game? It was like you looked at that lineup and it's like, who? Bucks, they had Giannis in the game. They had Drew Holiday in the game. Middleton was coming off the bench. Holiday put up 40 in that game. Giannis 36. I mean, but it still went to overtime. So, given what we have seen so far this season between these two ball clubs, not just last night, but what we have seen so far between these two teams, your level of concern if the Bucks were to meet the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals or in the playoffs at any point, even if the Bucks have home court advantage. Do you think the Bucks can take down the Celtics? Think about that for a little bit. Let me know. We'll hit that up probably here in a little bit in the first hour and such, along with some baseball talk. Speaking of hoops, but on the college side of things, shortly after their exit from the NIT, Jordan Davis entering the transfer portal, leaving the Wisconsin Badger men's basketball program. So he's out. He's going to be leaving. Don't know where he's going yet or not, but he is going to be looking for a new ball club to finish up his collegiate career. So didn't take long. Must have obviously kind of had that decision in the back of his mind, regardless of how the season went. Jordan lost his starting spot earlier this season. So we'll see where he kind of lands up. Speaking of the Badgers have their new men's hockey coach, Mike Hastings. Mike Hastings coming over from Minnesota State, where he's got quite the resume. He's been around he's a veteran. In all 25 seasons he has served as head coach, he has directed his teams to winning marks in every single season. That record, just reading a little bit here from the Badgers press release, that record includes the last 11 seasons at Minnesota State, where he directed the program to 8 NCAA appearances, a pair of Frozen Fours, which were 2021 and 2022, and the NCAA title game in 2022. The other 14 seasons, also head coach of the USHL's Omaha Lancers. Said Mike Hastings, Wisconsin is one of college hockey's great programs, and I am both thrilled and humbled to have the opportunity. I want to thank Chris McIntosh for his belief in me. Badger hockey has a lot going for it. Great alums, fans, facilities, tradition, a terrific campus and city. I can't wait to get to Madison and start working with our team on building a winning culture on and off the ice. So he's also a 3-time Spencer Penrose Award winner which is the NCAA Coach of the Year. So what do you hockey fans, what do you make of the hiring, or Badger fans, I guess, too? What do you make of the hiring of the new men's hockey coach. Obviously, he's a veteran. He's been around for a while. It's not like one of those up and coming younger coaches, maybe, that we see some teams or some sports or programs kind of go to. Guy's been around for a while. Had a lot of win. I mean, every stop he's made, every season he's made at that stop, had a winning mark. Minnesota State's went 299, 109, and 25 during his 11 years leading the program. That's good for a 719 win percentage, which ranks him as the nation's active leader in win percentage and gives him the third highest mark in NCAA men's hockey history. Not bad. Not bad at all. So, your thoughts, your reaction on that, let us know. Okay. What else are we going to do today? It is Friday, so we'll do a little cream of the crop. We're going to catch up with Dr. Crow inside the training room. Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine's inside the training room just under an hour from now. So we'll hit that up. Brandon will also be on coming up just after that. I think today, too, we are going to do our season predictions. I know I didn't do my season predictions yesterday. It was opening day and such, but, with Brandon coming on Friday, it's like, you know what, I'm going to save it. I'm going to save my predictions for today. Obviously, results from yesterday weighing heavily on my decisions. Sarcasm there. But if you didn't get a chance to send over your predictions, whether it's just for your favorite team or you want to do it for the entire Major League Baseball, program or season and such, let me know. Play along with us. All right. Give us your predictions. Who do you got winning each division? And then who do you got winning or going to the World Series and winning the World Series? So we'll get to that a little bit later on too. So, but hey, let's get things rolling here. Okay. Coming up on the leadoff here, we'll talk a little baseball with opening day in the books. If you want to do some first impressions from what you saw yesterday, go ahead and do so. Maybe a little overreaction after opening day, post opening day reaction. Well, we can hit that up. We're going to talk a little hoops. I threw out that question for you with the Bucks, but how concerned are you if the Bucks were to face the Boston Celtics in the playoffs? Again, not just basing it off of what we have seen last night, but looking at it from the entire season. Boston won the season series 2-1. The one game the Bucks did win, they had to go to overtime, and that was without Jason Tatum and Brown for the Celtics. So, what would your level of, because even if the Bucks have home court advantage, are you nervous about? Do you think the Bucks can still get by the Boston Celtics? So we'll hit that up too. But let's take our first break, and then we'll get things rolling here on a rainy and wet Friday, which unfortunately is going to transition into snow, it sounds like. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. April 11th. Don't forget, April 11th that the Packers Tailgate Tour kicks off with their first stop in Eau Claire at the Lismore. Grab your tickets, boltonrefuge.org. We got the link up on our website too, sportstalk1051.com. Let's raise some money and help raise some money for the Bolton Refuge House. They do a lot of fantastic things over there. So if you want to learn a little bit more, we do have that episode up with Caitlin on the Man Cave podcast. Caitlin from Bolton Refuge House, if you want to learn a little bit more. But tickets are still available, but hurry up before they are gone. Let's help out Bolton. All right, it should be a good time. Aaron Jones is going to be there. Aaron Jones, you better believe it. I'm going to ask him about his workouts. He posted up some workouts with Jordan Love, getting some passing routes in. Gonna ask Elton and Romeo Dobbs about him too. So Romeo Dobbs is gonna be there. Elton Jenkins, alums Devon House, Clinton Dix, Eddie Lacy, also making a stop. So put it on your calendar, April 11th. Get your tickets and join us for some fun. Should be a good night. Looking forward to it. Plus, they're going to be doing an auction too for some Packers memorabilia and items that way too. So, got to imagine probably our Hall of Famer / MVP G-Man might be involved in it. Who knows? Never know. Don't count him out. All right, let's get things rolling here this morning on the leadoff. We got a little baseball talk coming at you, and I forgot too. I mean, we got the Final Four. We got the Final Four tomorrow. We got a lot of stuff going on here. There's too much to keep track of. So send me your picks too. Send me your picks on who you think will advance to the national championship game on Monday. You're going to ride with FAU or San Diego State on that side of the bracket, left side if you're looking at it, or you're going to go with UConn or Miami. If you're looking at that bracket, it'll be on the right-hand side over there. I'll make my picks with Brandon coming up a little bit later on here, but make your picks. Who do you think is going to advance to the national championship, the Final Four, tipping off tomorrow? All right, kind of forgot about that. Does it feel like it's kind of getting it's a little quiet leading up to this Final Four? Do you think it's kind of like, oh yeah, that's coming up? And do you think it's because of maybe you don't have like the blue blood powerhouse teams in there? I don't know. I feel like it's kind of like or it could just strictly be the fact that it's opening day was yesterday. You know, the NBA season's wrapping up. We got the Masters starting next week too. So I don't know. But let's talk a little baseball and a little hoops to open up things here. As we mentioned, Brewers falling to the Chicago Cubbies. Falling to the Chicago Cubbies yesterday in opening day, 4-0. Corbin Burns picking up the loss. He went 5 innings, striking out just 3. It took him a little bit to get that first one there, too. Also issuing 3 walks, 4 earned runs on 4 hits. His counterpart, Mr. Stroman, over there, not too shabby. 6 innings pitched, giving up just 3 hits, striking out 8, also issuing 3 walks. One thing to note from the game yesterday, Brewers might have already suffered an injury. Luis Urias suffered a hamstring injury, it sounds like, at the final at bat, his final at bat. So now things are going to get a little interesting. Day off today, so we won't maybe not hear anything, but he's apparently going to be going up to where they did send him up to Milwaukee to get some testing done. But now you kind of wonders, like, okay, does Anderson move over back to third base? And then who do you have over at right? Is it Owen Miller or such? Or, you got Mike Brasso who can play third base over there too. So, but already suffering an injury. We'll see how long, and with those hamstrings, right? Hamstrings, you always get nervous about that. Could they linger? Can they stick around a little bit? So hopefully it's not anything too serious with Urias yesterday. So, but nonetheless, Brewers just collecting 4 total hits yesterday. You had Bryce Terang picking up his first major league hit in his debut. Willie Adames, Contreras, and Anderson picking up the other 3. Christian Yelich did reach base a couple times via the walk did strike out in his first at-bat there. But Jesse Winker in his debut for the Brewers could have gone a little bit better. Probably not the debut you wanted. 4 at-bats, 3 strikeouts, no hits. After that, too, Contreras also striking out 3 times with his 1 hit, too. But Brewers, again, will have the off day today as they kind of rebound and look for a better start on Saturday, where they will throw out Brandon Woodruff on the mound. Brandon Woodruff will get the start going up against Justin Steele. But and then after that, is it Lauer? They're going to be thrown out there. So yeah, Lauer. I think that's where it's how it's going to kind of all play out. Hey, should also mention too, Freddie Peralta yesterday, birth of his daughter. Congratulations to Freddie Peralta. Opening day, get a brand new daughter. That's not too bad, right? So yeah, Freddie Peralta is slated to start the home opener on Monday. So anybody riding our bus trip down there for the game on Monday, you're going to see Freddie Peralta on the mound going up against the Mets in the home opener. So I hope nobody. It's 1 of 162. Hopefully nobody's like panicking and freaking out after game 1. I mean, yeah, you could definitely be frustrated. You know, we were watching it over at Hy-Vee, and you see Christian Yelich in the first bat of the season, strikeout look, and you're like, dude, come on. That's what we do as sports fans, right? That's what we do. So, but first pitch for Saturday for the Brewer Crew, in case you're wondering, that's going to be at 1:20 again there too. But it was our first glimpse to see, Anderson and Winker and Contreras and such. We'll see them a few more times. Hopefully a few more times this season. Other scores, as we mentioned, Twinnies picking up the W against the Kansas City Royals and their opening day. We had Lopez picking up the win, going 5 1/3. 8 strikeouts, 3 walks. Former Brewer Zach Greinke was the starter for the Royals there too. He went 5 1/3, 2 earned, 4K too. But Baltimore picking up a 10-9 victory over the Red Sox. Boston, Atlanta, a heavy favorite to go and win the World Series. Picked up a win. Yankees blanking the Giants. You had Texas putting up 11 against the Phillies, 11-7. Mets picking up a victory. Pittsburgh picking up a 5-4 victory too. Toronto picking up a victory over the St. Louis Cardinals. Go Cardinals, or it's not Cardinals. Excuse me. No. Do not go Cardinals. Blue Jays. Mr. Vars Show picked up a couple RBIs in the game yesterday. I'll be following him, right? I'm going to be following him, seeing how he does this season. But he picked up a double in the first inning. And then in the fourth, I hit a sacrifice fly to right for his second RBI. All right. So opening day in the books. Now we get all the pageantry and nostalgia out of the way, and now we go. All right. Nobody likes a dynasty, a good friend of mine once told me. So the path to 161-1 is fully on board now for the Brewers, right? 161-1. Here we go. Let's switch gears here a little bit to some hoops talk, because I'm going to save the predictions for when B's on here. We'll hit that up in the next hour, but let's switch gears here for a little bit for some hoops talk. Boston just annihilating the Bucks last night. I mean, 140-99 by 41 points. The game was over with. Well, let's just say very, very quickly. Now, I threw out the question, if the Bucks and Celtics were to match up at some point in the playoffs, Eastern Conference playoffs, and there's a good chance it could possibly happen. I mean, a really good chance. Do you think the Bucks can beat them in a best of 7? And I'm not basing this question off of purely the game yesterday. I want to, looking at the season series, not just last night's game, although that leaves a bad taste in our mouths and recency effect and and all that. I understand that. I get that. But when we look at the entire season series, Celtics won that game on Christmas Day 139 to 118. Game 2, the Bucks did win in overtime 131 to 125. However, remember Tatum and Brown did not play in that game for Boston. Then last night 140 to 99. Tatum and Brown putting up half of the points. 40 for Tatum, 30 for Brown. Go back to game 1. I mean, Tatum has gone off against the Bucks in the 2 games that he has played against them this year. Christmas Day he dropped 41, missed game 2, and then last night dropped 40. I mean, Tatum is just like having his way against Milwaukee so far this year. Game 1, Brown put up 29. Last night he put up 30. So I mean, between those two, and you look at game 1 back on Christmas, it was those two leading the charge again. So Bucks have struggled, really struggled in those couple games to slow down, to contain Tatum and Brown, which, maybe for a lot of people is a little concerning because Drew Holiday, one of the best defenders in the league and such. Who do you match up with Tatum over there? Do you put Giannis on him? It's a little bit of a mismatch. But if these two teams were to meet in the Eastern Conference playoffs at some point, whether it's the semis, I mean, hopefully it will be the semis, and hopefully it won't be in the second round, because if it's in the second round, that means either the Bucks have fallen down to the 2 spot or something like that. But at some point, there's a good chance that these two will meet up. They're going to have to figure out how to slow down these two guys. Now, maybe Crowder's a guy that can help out with that. Crowder did play last night. Remember, though, he's dealing with a calf issue, so you have to wonder how effective. Is he at 100% right now? I don't think he is. You have to wonder how much that calf is bothering him. But you bring in a guy like Crowder for these defensive, for defensive purposes, for matchups like against the Boston Celtics. You put him on a guy maybe like Tatum. Make it a little difficult on him. And Crowder last night played 16 minutes, didn't score, only shot the ball once, coming off the bench. Wesley Matthews, he played 16 minutes too. But if it were to be, and Pat, I don't think he played in the first half either too, but nonetheless, Bucks only shot 32.6% from 3, 37.6 overall. Celtics just couldn't miss a dang shot. Felt like 56% overall from the field, 51.2 from 3. Okay, that's not going to happen every single time. I don't think it will happen every single time, but I guess never say never. But still, pretty darn impressive shooting performance from Boston last night. But if these two teams were to meet up in the Eastern Conference, I think it's going to go 7. I think it's gonna go the full on 7. It's going to be a grinded out series. That's why I so much want the Bucks to get the 1 seed. So that Philly and Boston can kind of, go at each other in the second round, beat up on each other here a little bit, maybe wear each other down. And if it is Boston that gets by, maybe they're a little tired, maybe a little worn out, maybe a little beat up. So if they do face Milwaukee, maybe Milwaukee, depending on what they will do in the second round either too. If we go all chalk, it might be Cleveland. You got Donovan Mitchell to worry about over there. But, hopefully Milwaukee can get by 5, maybe 6 games or something like that. But if it is Milwaukee and Boston, whew, they're gonna have to figure out a way to slow down Tatum just a little bit, and Brown too. How do you slow down those 2 guys? They've been having their way so far against the Bucks. How do you do it? I don't know if it's one of those where the quote, was it Berman back in the day on ESPN, or was maybe it might have been even, Dan Patrick too, I think. But, when he was with the mothership. Can't stop him, you only hope to contain him. I don't think you can stop a player like Tatum, but can you try to slow him down just a little bit? That it does make the difference in a ball game. I think that's what they gotta do. Tatum last year in the postseason too against the Bucks. Ooh, no reason. I wonder if I can find out some of the I know I can probably during the break. Just curious, like Tatum's numbers career-wise against the Milwaukee Bucks. Let me see if I can find those. Now I'll wait till the break here. But how concerned would you be if it is Boston versus the Bucks in the playoffs at some point? Yeah, I'd be concerned, even if it's home court advantage. 100%. I would be concerned. It's not going to be an easy series. That doesn't mean Milwaukee can't win it. It doesn't mean that Milwaukee won't win the series, but it's going to be grinded out, physical, high and low, game seven type of series. That's what it's going to be. But the biggest keys for the Bucks, if they do face the Celtics, is going to be again, how do you slow down that two-headed monster? How do you do it? I'm trying to see. Okay, yeah, no, that doesn't work out there too. So, all right, your thoughts? You can hit us up with the text 715-830-1912 or Twitter at DANKASPER, Facebook.com/Casper Sports video stream. Also available if you want to chime in on there too. Tell you what, let's take a quick break. We'll go through some of the comments and such. Got a little Brewers and Bucks comments to go through on the texting line. So we'll hit that up. Also, don't forget, I want your national championship picks. Got the Final Four tipping off tomorrow. Who you rolling with? You think UConn gonna get there over Miami? FAU, can their magical season continue? They're gonna get the W over San Diego State. What do you think? Send me your predictions, okay? All right, we'll take that quick break and then finish up the first hour here with your thoughts after these few words. Week from today, we're going to be back at Hy-Vee, but we're going to be doing the morning show from over there because, well, it's Friday of the Masters. But what's really cool is that Hy-Vee all week long, too, is going to be doing like a Masters menu, kind of like in their, grab and go section right when you walk in Hy-Vee, and you can, grab some like their deli or, they got their wings and sandwiches up there. But they're going to be doing like a Masters theme all week. We're talking like pimento cheese sandwiches, egg salad, barbecue pulled pork sandwiches, all that fantastic stuff. But we'll be there Friday to do the show. But big thanks to our awesome friends at Carpet City Flooring Center. I haven't seen this thing. They keep teasing me with some pictures here and there. If you follow my Facebook page, you probably saw a little one of the pictures that they keep teasing me with. But they're putting together this putting green, and it's like a 16-footer, 16, 20-footer, somewhere around there. And so we're going to do a putting challenge throughout the morning during the show. And anybody who just tries it, you're going to get 3 putts. Anybody who just tries it, you're going to be entered to win some cool stuff, including Callaway driver, an Odyssey putter. And if you nail any of your putts, all the better chances of you, more tickets you're going to get, better chances for you to win some prizes. And Hy-Vee is going to be throwing some prizes in too. So Friday is going to be epic. Friday is going to be a lot of fun. Now, I will tell you, if you're a left-handed putter, you might want to bring your own putter in. I'll have mine there if you want to use it. Otherwise, bring your own in. Okay. So, but Friday's going to be pretty darn fun. I cannot wait for a week from today. Man, it's just golf mood too. Like next week when it kicks off with the Masters, I'm curious to see with the Masters. I know a lot of people are talking about the live guys coming over, and what's the reaction going to be like with the PGA players and those guys, and maybe even the fans with the live tour. But I'm going to be kind of curious to see, like, is it going to be a little? I don't think it'll be to this level, but will there be a little bit of a rivalry, kind of like a Ryder Cup ish sort of thing? PGA versus live guys. Now, I don't think it'll be to the level, obviously, with some of the excuse me, the battles or the excitement between Europe and USA when it gets to the Ryder Cup and such. But like let's say Rory is paired up with like Phil Mickelson or something like that. Will there be a little bit of tension? Will there be a little bit of a rivalry, bro? Oh, but the gosh darn weather would cooperate so we could all hit the golf course too. That would be fantastic. But I can't wait for Friday. I can't wait to see this putting green in action. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Going to be a lot of fun. So can't wait for that week from today. And I know that at least I know the Eau Claire School District does, but some of the kiddos have off on Friday. So, maybe the parents, so you also have off on Friday too. Want to stop by, maybe do some grocery shopping, maybe you want to grab some breakfast or something like that, or hang out with us too. You can do that. Brandon's going to be there too. So it should be a lot of fun. Let's see if Dr. Crow can make a stop by or something too. Speaking of Dr. Crow, we'll catch up with him just past 7 o'clock here this morning. All right, going through some of your messages. A lot of it surrounding the Bucks. DK, I'm absolutely concerned about the Bucks potentially facing the Celtics in the playoffs. It just seems like they have struggled against Jason Tatum as of late. Well, during the break, I was looking up some of the numbers going back to last year, regular season, and obviously we just went through this year's numbers. But last year, Tatum against the Bucks, yeah, I mean, this guy seems like he doesn't mind playing against the Bucks. Now, I'm just going based off last year and this year, but last year in their game on November 12th, he put up 27 points, 11 rebounds, double-double. Shot 5 of 13 from 3. All right, 27 points. I think right now, a lot of Bucks fans would probably be okay with that stat line. If like, hey, we hold Jason Tatum to 27 points, all right, we're doing pretty good. You're feeling pretty good. Then you go to December 13th of 2021. I guess I gotta stop saying last year, 2022. So this is 2021. He dropped 42 points against the Bucks. and then wasn't active for that. Or no, we got another one here on Christmas Day again, dropped 25 in 2021. So, and then was it? Yeah, okay. Then the game 81 was inactive for that game. But then the postseason, going up against the Bucks for those 7 games, 21, 29, game 3, he only put up 10. But then after that, it was like after that game, the dude exploded. It's like he took offense to only putting up 10 points in game 3 because he went for 30, 34, 46, and in game 7, 23. It was like after they like calmed him down, they cooled him off. Only putting up 10, just shot 4 of 19 overall from the field. He's like, I take offense to that. Pulled off his Jordan impression. I took it personally and just exploded on him. And then, as we said, he's played 2 games against them this year and just went off too. Tatum worries the heck out of me, like, because obviously the Bucks have struggled to cover this guy, to slow him down here a little bit. So that to me would be a big concern. I think, both these ball clubs have guys that both teams are going to struggle to kind of contain too. Giannis being another one for the Bucks. I mean, you look at last year's playoff series. Giannis was a dude. I mean, he kind of had to be a dude too because you didn't have Middleton. But game 3, game 4, game 5, 42, 34, 40 for Giannis. But it's going to be a heck of a series if we get this at some point in the playoffs. Another message here. Definitely concerned about Boston. That's why I really want the Bucks, even though that they haven't swept the floor with them at home this year. I definitely want the Bucks to get the number 1 seed this year. A little bit of advantage here and there can only help them out. Another text here too. If they happen to meet in the postseason, this is definitely going 7, and whoever has just a little bit more luck in game 7 will be the winner. All right, we'll get back to more of your response there too, but you can hit me up if you'd like on that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line with a quick text. Brewers wise, overreaction opening day. Brewers going to go 160-2. Can't go 161-1. I don't know who this is, but I love your optimism. It's not G-Man. But another text here. Try not to overreact to game 1, but obviously not the start that we wanted to see from Corbin Burnes. Only 3 strikeouts for a guy that a lot of people predicted would lead the National League in strikeouts this year. Not concerned after 1 game, but definitely not what we all expected. Yeah, I mean, a lot of you're right. The preseason projections and a lot of the articles, if you look at the analysts or data, stat stuff, a lot of them picked Corbin Burnes to lead the National League in strikeouts. A lot of them had him as a Cy Young Award winner. But it is only 1 game. And it was the first game of the season. Let's see how he bounces back. I still trust Corbin Burnes. I hope nobody's at that point in time where they're like, ooh, a little nervous just after 1 game. I hope we're not there. Another question. Hey, Christian Yelich. He got on base 2 times, but no hits. But small steps, I guess. That's another text on our line there, too. So, all right. Got a little bit of a mixture with the Bucks and the Brewers over there. Again, you can hit us up or on Facebook, Twitter, and the video stream. So coming up next hour, we'll catch up with Dr. Crow right away for a little inside the training room. And then after that, we'll catch up with Brandon. We'll get to our season predictions and then the Final Four predictions. A lot of you right now going with UConn and FAU. So keep those coming too. Let's say good morning to Morgan. Good morning, Morgan.
You're not going to get too riled up over a bad first game, are you?
Oh, they're not going to win a game all year.
You think? After what you saw? That's it? Calling it?
Done.
Waiting for
Season's
football season?
over with. I'm waiting for golf now next week. So
Yeah, you're gearing up for that, aren't you? Are you going to bring your
Masters.
left-handed club and share it with the class?
I don't have a left-handed club.
You should get one just in case you have
I
left-handed
guess you could
swingers.
get the. I used to have this one that everybody knows it's like a blade one, but yeah, it's not a lefty or righty. So I should just
Okay.
have one of those on hand.
So now you're gearing up. Would you say
Actually, Hudson's would work that way. Never mind.
as you get older, you're getting more into golf? Because you know what I think?
I'm less into it, I think, than what I used to be.
Really? This is something I saw like with my own old man, for example. We grew up football heavy. Oh, pack for sure. But as he gets older, he's more and more into baseball and he's more and more of a Brewers guy. You think it's because it's a slower paced game and then you can kind of sit out, take your time, especially if maybe you kicking back and retired, you have time for those 4-hour games that stretch.
Or maybe it's less stressful than a football game.
Less dramatic these days too.
Like I don't get as animated as I used to during football games.
No.
Mm-mm.
You think it maybe just comes with age that you can just take a little bit of a breather.
You're
and baseball's
maturing.
And there's more long vision, long game strategy in baseball. Like you have to, be a little more settled.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, like when I was in high school and that, like I was playing golf for school and that, but I think a lot of it though too is that it is a very expensive sport.
Golf?
Yes.
Yeah.
If I had a membership, I would use that thing all the time, but it's expensive.
A lot of sports are. I mean, especially getting into them now with Siggy because she's an all sports, all season kind of kid. She just got in the car this week and said, "Guess what, Mom? I signed up for track." I'm like, "We're literally driving to volleyball, but okay."
Yep.
So we're going to be running that too, and that's it's shoes for everything, and
shoes that's where like the old school ones basketball just go to the park and shoot hoops or something like
for
that.
sure, right?
But yeah, golf, I mean, you need the clubs, you need the greens fees, you need the balls because you're going to lose probably half a dozen every round.
Right.
See,
that's true. I forgot about that thing.
Yeah.
You're always collecting balls.
So like at least in school, you go to tournaments, you're playing some free golf. The greens fees and that. Practice, you're playing rounds.
No, but can you justify the investment as you get older because you just like it and that's kind of what life is about? You have to balance it with a little bit of play too.
I think if I was better, where, my goal this year, I want to break 80. But I think if I was better where I knew I wasn't going to lose any stuff like balls and that, then I can probably justify it a little bit more.
What would be your next ad then? Your next purchase, guilt-free purchase for your golf collection?
For my golf collection?
Yeah, if you could go out. A new putter?
Yeah.
That's
right now. $100.
Okay. And second to that, what do you think the most expensive sport is? Like, for example, you got Hudson coming up. What do you think he's going to gravitate towards? Because I think hockey parents right now are like, what about us?
I was going to say hockey. I don't think he'll gravitate towards that, though.
No?
No.
Because there's a price tag for hockey players for sure and traveling. I have a couple of friends whose kids are playing the, AAU ball and they're going everywhere. So that's like.
See, I used like slow pitch softball when I was like playing that. I mean, bats were like $300.
Yeah. Yeah,
bats. Beer league softball for crying out
loud.
I'll
tell you that right now. That was a sticker shock for me. Siggy's number one love right now is softball. And holy wow, our bats way more. I'm like, did you put the decimal point in the wrong place? Am I reading this sticker wrong?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. I just figured a bat was a bat, but turns out nothing is that simple.
No. I don't know what. I mean, he's into basketball right now, which I'm good with. I mean, get some shoes and a little basketball and we got a hoop. So
just start hustling.
Yep.
What do you think he's going to be on the court then? Position him right now. Early call, Dad. What do you see?
Wing.
You think so? All right.
He'll be a wing.
And number? Does he have it picked out yet? Is he a 23?
Whatever LeBron's wearing at that moment.
That's going to be his number. All right.
All right, second hour kicking off on this rainy, wet Friday. Wow, yeah, I'm ready for the weekend. I don't know about the rest of you, so appreciate you tuning in. However, wherever you may be checking us out, from this morning, we're going to catch up with Brandon Berg here in just a little bit. Talk some baseball and such. Get your final four picks in with a quick text, tweet, Facebook message, or hit us up on the video stream. We kick off this hour as we usually do every Friday morning inside the training room. Dr. Crow, Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, and I think we just lost him again there too. Our technology just rocks, Brandon. It absolutely rocks here. So I gotta text Austin to give us a call back here. So, man, how was yesterday at IV? Brandon was there. You're filling in for me right now. You're the
I
host.
am. We're having some issues. Must be that dang rainy weather. No, it was fun.
Yeah,
it was fun. Nice getting the chance to, as always, when you can put some faces to some names, which is always good. I mean, looks like we've got the doctor here, so I can step out after that dynamite drop in, Monty.
Thanks about that. Hey, Austin, how you doing, bud?
Great.
Oh, I got to blame the weather. I'm blaming the weather or the 1970s technology for always dropping you there. So,
There you go.
hey, I got to ask LeBron James the other day. I mean, he came back from his foot injury. I'm sure you saw the quote that he put out there, but he said he visited the LeBron James of feet, and he wouldn't say who it was. But he said that a couple other doctors advised him to have season-ending surgery. And then, quote, I went to the LeBron James of feet, and he told me I should delay possible surgery. I don't know who it is, but I was going to ask you, does the LeBron James of feet reside in Green Bay over there outside of Lambeau Field, do you think?
He's on the short list, that's for sure.
I was kind of wondering, that was the name I was thinking of a little bit over there. He also said that the doctor told him he was healing faster than anybody they've seen before with the injury. Have you heard or kind of wonder what exactly LeBron James's injury was with his foot?
They really haven't said exactly what was the involvement, but I know he said that there was some tearing. I believe my assumption would be like peroneal tendons or something along those lines. I know he's kind of sought a couple different quote unquote alternative type treatments to surgery, which I mean, even as surgeons, you'd think that we want to operate on everything that walks through the door, and it's actually quite the opposite. I mean, we try to do everything we can in our power to avoid surgery because surgery carries a lot of baggage with it, right? There's the recovery process, there's risks that go with it. So if we ever get athletes back in the field without surgery, we always do it. Now, unfortunately, there's some things that just necessitate that. But in these type of settings, especially these athletes, I mean, they truly do have access to care and certain treatment options that just aren't available to everyone else. And so, and on top of it, I think we've talked about in this past, these type of athletes are truly just built different. I mean, their bodies just are a little different than the rest of ours. That's why they get paid the amount of money they do to do what they do for fun. So, I mean, it's one of those things that, if it was a peroneal tendon injury, which is what I suspect, often those can heal with time and rest, but the problem is that what is he going to go? He's going to go back on the basketball court and run and jump and do the things that he does. And so you always can get concerned that it'll be something that'll recur. But if he's healing like the quote unquote LeBron James of feet is telling him, maybe it'll be something that goes away and it's something that he can put behind him.
Yeah. So when I hear of foot injuries and all that, and what you described, I always think, is it similar to the Liz Frank injury, or is Liz Frank like a broken bone in the foot?
Well, it can be. So Liz Frank is basically a midfoot injury.
Okay.
So when you look at that, that's a junction between the bones in the middle of the foot. So what we call the metatarsals, which are the bones that just kind of at the base of your toes, if you will, that run to the middle of your foot, hence the term midfoot. And that's really the joint that we call it. So it's a subset of smaller joints, but it can be a ligamentous injury or a bony injury. In fact, the ligamentous ones tend to do worse. If you break the bone actually heals pretty well. So if you get the bone back in place, they actually do better. It's when the ligaments rip apart that we have a harder time getting it to heal correctly. So, they haven't said explicitly what his injury is. So it's possible it's something like that. And that would be, which I believe that's what Chet Holmgren was dealing with, the number one pick from the draft last year. So, those can be really, really nasty. I mean, frankly, career-ending injuries. And so, We certainly hope that's not what it is. But if it is, it's probably a partial injury, certainly, because he's not having surgery on it. So, again, they've been a little bit tight-lipped, so it's hard to say for sure.
We had somebody text in this morning, and I think you and I have discussed this a while back, but just to kind of refresh it for this texter, he's like, when you have Dr. Crow on, can you ask him what is worse? Is it a broken bone or a torn muscle or ligament, or does it depend on which muscle or ligament or bone?
Yeah, I mean, there's such degrees for all of them. I mean, there is kind of that saying, like, it's better to break your ankle than sprain your ankle. I think is where a lot of that originates from. And I mean, there's some truth to that. I mean, the one thing is bone, and being an orthopedic surgeon, I'm, partially obsessed with bones. It's one of the coolest parts of the body because it heals without scar. So bone heals the bone, it heals with bone, and it remodels and it becomes normal bone. Virtually every other structure in our body, when it heals with scar tissue. So atypical collagen fibers and things like that don't function the way they're supposed to. So when you do have a bad sprain, for example, you tear ligaments, like all sprains, and then they heal. But it doesn't always heal to 100%, and it often heals with a fair amount of scar tissue. Sometimes it just doesn't heal back to even close to where it was before, and now you have a joint that isn't functioning the way it's supposed to. And so that recovery isn't back to 100%. Now, I'm not going to sit here and claim every broken bone comes back to 100% because it doesn't, but they do have that potential to heal back to darn near 100%. So, I can tell you there's some fractures that, trust me, you do not want.
Yeah.
So it can go both ways. But I think if you look at like a really severe ankle sprain versus a broken ankle, I mean, there are times where a break in some ways is better. It requires surgery, but you ultimately can do better. Now, sometimes you do have to operate on sprained ankles as well. So tightening the ligaments, called the Brostrom procedure. And that can work very well in addition to, fixing bones. But, it really is so dependent. So I guess that's kind of a wish-washy answer, but that's the truth of it.
I saw this the other day, and I don't know if you saw this article. This was from the Washington Post, and it said that among high school athletes in the United States, more than 5.2 million injuries occurred from 2015 to 2019, which researchers reported that the injury rate overall has declined since the last such report in 2006. But they said that the injuries have become more severe, and the number of injuries to the head and neck has increased by 10%. And they said the most common one was football, with the most injuries, 44%, followed by girls soccer and boys wrestling. The head was the most injured body site, 24%, followed by ankles and knees. So when they said the injuries go down, but the severe injuries went up, what would define, in your opinion, like a severe injury? Is it those head injuries, maybe like concussions and such, or is it something else?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's going to have that. I mean, certainly on the extremity injuries, things that necessitate surgery. So broken bones, ligament injuries that require reconstruction, things like that. I mean, those studies are good, but anytime you have those kind of retrospective studies that just look at statistical analysis, you're always subject to bias. And I think that has what we call reporting bias, where we all acknowledge that head injuries have always existed, but we also will acknowledge that we've become much more tuned to them. And so the reason I think that those studies are showing that recently concussions are on the rise is not necessarily because they're on the rise. It's because we're reporting them correctly. So, when we were kids and you bonked your head and you said, all right, rub some dirt on and get back out there, you just got your bell rung. That's what we did. Now that kid gets pulled aside, is told they have a concussion, and it's reported as a concussion. So it's the same event, same injury. It's just we treat it differently. And I think that's a good thing, to be very clear. I think that it's good that we're addressing head injuries. But I think that for someone who just glances at that study and thinks, well, wait a minute, that means sports are becoming more dangerous. We're getting a lot more head injuries. I don't think that's the case. I think it's more of a reporting bias. But that's my take on it.
Yeah, I was reading a little bit more there too, and they said it was about 6% said that required surgeries. And the sport that led the way was wrestling a little bit there, and then followed behind with basketball. So kind of wrestling, I'm thinking is they don't say, but I'm like shoulder injuries or something like that with wrestling, because I'm thinking dudes or lifting people or throwing people on the mat or something like that. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I mean, certainly wrestling is a relatively violent sport, and it's one that we do see. Shoulders, probably are the most common injury. Knees and elbows, we see some of those as well. But I'd say shoulders is pretty high on the list, just because the amount of, all the different moves that are put on the shoulder and the wrenching, and it's another human being trying to manipulate your body via that joint. So it puts a lot of stress through there.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we see a lot of that, and every sport has their own quote risk factors. But I mean, I always counsel my patients and their families that are returning from injuries is like, look, I mean, injuries are a real thing, and we don't downplay them. But the plus side of athletics is just so high, and I think that's something that it's missing in some of our society about how we can teach leadership and accountability and things like that. And so I think, whenever we see people who are shying away from sports, because sometimes parents will ask me, like, should I pull my kid out of sports? Is it too dangerous? I'm like, I don't think so. I mean, my kids are going to play sports, and I'm on the front lines taking care of the injuries. So not to say they're not going to happen, but I think that you look at the risks and benefits, and to me, it's a clear-cut win for sports to participate in them.
Absolutely. Dr. Crow inside the training room, Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Justin Verlander, high-priced free agent for the Mets, is going to be missing some time, and they're calling it an upper arm injury diagnosed as a low-grade teres major strain. For anybody who doesn't know that, could you explain what that was? Is it the teres major strain?
Yeah. Yep. Teres major.
Teres.
Yep. So teres major is one of the muscles. Yep. It's one of the muscles in your shoulder. It's kind of on the posterior inferior aspect. So if you think of you think your latissimus or your lat, most people know that muscle. It actually runs parallel to it, just superior to it. Runs right up to kind of the back part of the shoulder. So it's involved in the throwing motion. It's going to be kind of one of the external rotators and abductors of the shoulder. So it's definitely involved in the throwing motion. Certainly not one of the most common injuries. We don't come across that too much. So its little brother, the teres minor, is actually one of the rotator cuff tendons, but this one actually inserts a little bit further down the humerus. So we don't see too often, I'll be honest with you, but it's certainly, again, being that it's involved in probably mainly the late cocking phase where the arm brink comes all the way back. That's probably where he's getting that pain, and certainly that's an important part for a pitcher like that to be able to deliver with the velocity that he needs.
Yeah, I was kind of looking through some of the baseball injuries earlier this morning, and there was another one, Tristan McKenzie from the Guardians. It was last Sunday, and they diagnosed it with the same one, with the teres major muscle on there too.
Yeah. We don't see too much of those, but I mean, again, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen to a thrower, because it's I mean, it's a muscle that you just don't really have involvement for a lot of other activities with kind of other sports or other day-to-day activities. So it'd be kind of that relatively violent throwing motion, truthfully.
And to wrap it up, we just had somebody text in too. Since you guys are talking about pitchers, is there any health benefits to a pitcher who throws sidearm compared to overhand? What do you think, Austin?
Yeah, so that is actually an interesting question. So the answer is yes and no. So when you throw sidearm versus kind of more overhead or a three-quarter position, it does put varying amounts of stress on both the shoulder and elbow. And so the thought is as you start to go to more of a sidearm delivery, it can take a little bit of stress off of the shoulder and kind of into more the elbow region, just kind of as you kind of sling it in sideways. So there are pitchers who've had shoulder versus elbow injuries that have kind of changed their throwing. One that comes to mind is Pat Neshek. He was a reliever. I don't know if you remember him.
Yep.
He started in Major League Baseball throwing overhead and converted to a sidearm pitcher, which is, I mean, a pretty impressive feat if you really think about it, to basically completely change your throwing mechanics. And that was because he had a shoulder injury. And so then he had to change his delivery to that sidearm. And so so the answer is yes and no. So if you're looking to kind of protect one joint, you can change your mechanics to kind of protect one, but you ultimately put stress to the other, because at the end of the day, if you want to throw a baseball 90 plus miles an hour, you're putting a lot of force through your arm, and it has to go through one of those joints or both, right? So you're basically just kind of shifting the force from one to the other if you go to that different mechanic.
All right, Dr. Crow. Last question for you. I was asked to ask you again about your brat making skills and all that. Like as an orthopedic surgeon, I got to imagine your skill set's fairly high. Making this is from Bob, by the way, so in case you're wondering. But I got to imagine you're probably pretty good, right? The finer things, fine details and that.
Yeah. It is, yeah. No, I had a venison brat making session a couple weekends ago, and we made a lot of brats. And so it's a skill. I'm not going to lie to you. It was my hands were sore after that. I got to give credit to butchers who are able to whip out brats by the dozens. It's a skill. But I feel like being a surgeon did lend some skills to that, but it was a learning process for me, that's for sure.
Well, I'm just saying, if you ever want to share the wealth, we're always willing to taste test or that sort of stuff.
There we go.
Austin,
Step up to the plate.
Exactly. Austin, appreciate it as always, buddy. Always great chatting with you, and we'll chat again soon. We got Masters Week next week, man. I know that's have you gone there? I can't remember. Were you planning going there, but then it was canceled?
I was, yes.
Yeah.
The COVID got me. So we were supposed to go to the one when the Final Four was in Atlanta. So I had a trip where we were going to do the Final Four in Atlanta and then the Masters. So a great weekend for naught. So no, it's on my bucket list. I absolutely want to go there someday, but I have not been.
Me too, man. Me too. So, well, if you're ever looking for somebody to go with, let me know. We'll work something.
Yeah, wingman.
So, there you go. Austin, appreciate it, buddy. Have a good weekend, and we'll catch up soon. Okay, sir?
Sounds good. Thanks, Dan.
You got it. There you go. Austin Crow, Dr. Austin Crow, Triple Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, joining us here this morning. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll bring Brandon in here. Time for some baseball season predictions coming up in just a couple minutes. Coming up later this morning when we're done recording, Brandon and I will do another episode of top five on the podcast. Are we gonna do the 2 top 5s?
I guess.
All right. So I figured one's kind of easier.
Well, it is, but yeah, I mean,
honor of baseball.
Left here last Friday with an idea for one, and then last Thursday night I checked my phone and I had a text from you saying, "Oh, do you want to do this one?" I'm like, "What about the other one?"
We'll do both. So. What they're going to be, and this is an opportunity for people to chime in here in the next hour and a half before we start recording it. Should be a good one. Everybody's got thoughts on this one. First one is going to be your top 5 baseball movies of all time.
Yeah.
Put it in order. It's got to be in order. Top 5. I already know your number 1.
Of course.
I think you know my number 1.
I think so.
So that's the easy one. And then top 5 sports sounds. So we're talking like the crack of a bat on a ball or anything like that. Your top 5 sports sounds. So let us know yours. You can text it, tweet it, comment on the video. We'll include it on the pod there too. Or you can record yourself with your top 5, which would make it a lot easier. So you don't have to hear me read off yours. All you have to do is get that link by going to the podcast description on your favorite podcasting platform. Look up the Man Cave Podcast. It's in the description, the link there, and you can just record it there, and then we'll put it up on the pod too. So top 5 baseball movies of all time in order. Top 5 sports sounds like the crowd. So I'm curious to get everybody's responses on that one. So should be a lot of fun. All right, Brewers gonna go 0-162, Brandon.
They cannot be undefeated.
No, nobody likes a dynasty though, man.
No,
that's what a wise person once told me. Nobody likes a dynasty. So 161-1, here we go.
There you go.
So I hope, I mean, how much can you take away from one game?
I don't know. I mean, you tend not to because, I mean, baseball, there's just so much that goes into it. I think if something was going to frustrate Brewers fans, it would be the fact that, the offense struggled, and, that's kind of been a common complaint from the team here in kind of more recent years. But, yeah, one time out, first of all, I think you give a lot of credit to Marcus Stroman. That game kind of developed the way a sinker baller like he is going to really hope.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of balls on the ground. I mean, they didn't really square much up off him.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like their biggest chance was that first inning when they load the bases, and then obviously got the ground ball double play. And, it seemed like as the game went on, Marcus Stroman just got better.
Any concern? I mean, that Corbin Burns only had 3 strikeouts, and it took a little bit for him to get his first one too, didn't it?
I mean,
because everybody's like predicting he's going to be the strikeout leader this year.
And that was a couple years ago where he went how many innings with it before he gave up his first walk, and then he
3 walks yesterday with his 3 strikeouts.
But I mean, not really, not too much, not first time out.
With Luis Urias now with that hamstring injury, after one game, we were talking. I was asking you when we were at Hy-Vee, the Bryce Terang, making the team was a little surprising. I think I was one of them at least. I know he had a lot of time playing right field, but Brian Anderson maybe getting the majority at right field, or excuse me, at third base there. So assuming Luis Urias is going to miss some time with a hamstring injury, how does that third base look? Does Brasso get more reps regardless of who's pitching? Owen Miller? I mean,
could be.
How would you do it?
First of all, if there's any kids out there listening, don't slide into first base. It doesn't make you get there quicker.
No,
when you're breaking your stride of running, you're always going to run faster than you fall. So don't slide into first base.
Don't slide.
But yeah, that's going to be kind of the interesting question because you've got plenty of people on the roster right now, even before a potential move, that can play third base. You mentioned Mike Brasso, Owen Miller, Brian Anderson certainly can. And the question, I guess, would be whether they would do that or if they bring up an outfielder and then have Brasso play third, which you would think would maybe be Joey Weimer. But, not sure if they'll do that or, if they just call up someone like Abraham Toro if it's a shorter term thing. But no, that's going to be the question, assuming Urias does miss some time. But it's going to lead to opportunity for somebody.
Did Naquan go to AAA for the Brewers?
I believe he did.
Okay.
I actually this morning before I came here, I looked at the AAA rosters because I was curious.
Because I know Keston went back to AAA.
Yeah, because he was not claimed, so he
and he didn't have the right to elect free agency at that point.
Yeah, but if he makes it to the big leagues at some point this year, then he would have the right to. So
So you wonder if the Brewers would be extra careful with that, like a
thing.
Thing.
Yeah, if they're going to, it's kind of like, well, if we're going to use this, let's use it, because I mean,
Right.
you have to figure if he gets that opportunity, he would want to try it somewhere else, just because there might be a better path to playing time.
Right. Yep.
But yeah, Tyler Naquin, I believe, is on the AAA roster.
Okay.
So, and they do have, but remember the thing there too would be you have to open up a 40-man spot.
Oh yeah, that's true too.
So
that's like, I think we need to do an episode one of these days where it's like baseball. Like you kind of help break everything down, like the 40-man, the designated for assignment.
There is stuff that can be kind of confusing. So that's why, if it came to a roster move, I kind of wonder if maybe just calling up Abraham Toro might be the move, just because it's
so
simpler.
Early in the season too.
It's simpler.
Yeah,
and they've already used that option on him getting sent down. So like you wouldn't really have to necessarily upset much.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a guy that can play around the infield. And if you want to have Brian Anderson just focus on being the outfield, which, may not be a bad move simply because you don't want guys bouncing all around if you can help it.
Right.
But, that would make a domino effect to where, maybe Mike Brasso, they try to see if that hot spring training can you give him the chance coming off a hot spring training. But, we'll see. It looks like, immediately we won't have the answer because Saturday, with Justin Steele set to start, I would imagine Mike Brasso would be out there anyway.
Okay.
Be it second or third base, or I guess maybe first base, but we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was just kind of curious, like, day one and we got an injury, going out there, and the hamstrings ones too, as we all know, are always tricky.
They can linger, and we'll see. Never a good sign if you have to go back to Milwaukee, but
no. Well, at least it's not too far of a trip.
Right. We'll see. We'll see, I guess. So off day today, so maybe some good news pops out today at some point, hopefully.
Yeah. So, okay, Brandon. I purposely did not make any picks yesterday for season predictions and that sort of thing. So, are you ready to make some?
I gotta call mine back up, but yeah, sure.
All right. Did anything change after yesterday's results for you?
Maybe. My bold prediction for the Brewers was I thought Luis Arias could be a borderline all-star, but that may be a bit tougher now if he's out.
Oh boy, I did not know that. So,
yeah. So
all right, should we do this?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, let's do division predictions first. Do you want to start off with the National League, or do you want to go American League? Does it matter? Let's start off National League.
Okay.
All right. Let's start off with the NL West. We'll work from west to east. How about that? NL West. Padres, Dodgers, somebody else. Where are you going to ride with this one?
I went Padres. I just think they could argue, you can make the case they may have just the best overall roster in baseball right now.
Okay.
But I think it's weird going into a year and the Dodgers aren't the head and shoulders favorite there. But I think the Padres are just they have a better roster right now.
How much? The one thing with the Padres, the last couple of years, they've gone through that slump towards the end of the season, haven't they?
Yeah.
Like, for whatever reason, it's just kind of like they can't seem to game, or going through that tough stretch there. How much? I think the one player I think maybe some people kind of forget, with Tatis playing in the outfield now.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a clip the other. I'm like, oh yeah, he's over there in right field now too. And I think he still misses some time due to suspension.
Yeah, I think he'll be. I think it's later on.
But you kind of if he could stay healthy, they want him mostly for his bat, right?
Yes.
That's the main thing for him. Not to say he can't be a good right fielder. He's got an arm strength.
Yeah, but the bat plays. You're putting him out there, in part because you want him in the lineup somewhere. But
right,
you can. He's an athletic guy, so maybe you feel like, okay, he can go and kind of figure it out as the year goes on.
Mm-hmm. Because and then I keep forgetting Soto's over there too. Yeah, I'll go Padres too. That's just, man, if they're all clicking, that's a lethal lineup. So yeah, I'll go Padres. Let's go, and we'll do the wild cards at the end.
Okay.
How about that? So then let's go with the NL Central.
Yeah, and this is one where, and when I tried to make these picks, I was really trying to think trying to be a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Because you could easily just pick the same 12 teams they made last year, but the odds of that happening aren't very good.
Right.
So, and I actually went with the Brewers.
Oh, okay.
I did. And I think it'll be very close. My thinking there was, for me, it was just kind of looking at the Cardinals a little bit. And obviously both teams have things they could potentially be really good at, but also parts of their team that, could maybe be a little bit of a letdown.
Are you talking like for the Cardinals are pitching and then Brewers are hitting?
Yeah,
kind of opposites.
I think when you look at the Cardinals rotation, I'm not sold, especially when someone like Jack Flaherty, who hasn't exactly been as good as he was, 2-3 years ago. And if he's supposed to be your number one, that's
Mm-hmm.
and
Wainwright's
Wainwright's out, and he'll be back at some point, obviously.
Mhm.
But for me, and then the other thing too is you've got Goldschmidt and you've got Arnautovic coming off career years. Like, can you do, especially if you're Paul Goldschmidt, can you do that again at the age of 36? I mean, certainly.
Forget he's that old already.
Yeah, remember he played for the Diamondbacks when they played the Brewers in the 2011 playoffs.
Holy crap, you're right.
To put a little
I was at that game.
Yeah, to put a little perspective on that. I mean, he wasn't Paul Goldschmidt he is now, but
right.
But and at some point, I mean, as much as I think all those Brewer fans will look and say, okay, what's the Cardinal magic they're going to sprinkle again this year and somehow make it work? At some point, you kind of feel like, is that
going to run out?
Yeah, and even if you just suddenly, if he just has like a good year but not a great year, how much does that change?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And just kind of for the sake of being a little bit different there, that's kind of a thing I went. I just went with the Brewers.
Okay, I'm gonna go Cardinals on mine.
Mm-hmm.
But I can see these two. I don't think anybody's going to run away with the division, if that makes any sense. So I'll go Cardinals right now. Brewers, by the way, last place in run differential. Just kidding. After one game, they're minus four. Cubs +4. There you go. Let's go NL East. Braves, Mets.
I want Braves.
Okay.
Obviously the Mets have done another offseason of a busy addition, but I like the moves the Braves made as far as maybe not quite as splashy. I mean, for them, obviously the big thing will be what do they get out of shortstop? They feel pretty good, I guess, about Orlando Arcia.
Yeah, they just gave him a new contract, right?
Yeah, gave him an extension. And he's in a spot where, I mean, with all the talent they have around him, he just has to worry about, play good defense, have some timely hits, hit at the bottom of that lineup. That's not a bad place to be if you're him.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I still like that team. Just overall, I like the Sean Murphy addition behind the home plate.
Yep.
So I'm going Braves.
Yeah. The Verlander thing for the Mets, you kind of, I know they got a lot invested in him and Scherzer over there.
Mm-hmm.
Mets have a good offensive lineup here too, but I'm going to go Braves, I think, too, in this one. I'm going to go Braves, and I think they just get by the Mets in that East. If I'm a Mets fan, I'm maybe a little, and then Edwin Diaz, for the Mets, but yeah, I'll go Braves. I'm going to go Braves as well in this one. How about 3 wild cards now for the National League?
I went Mets, Dodgers, and Cardinals.
Okay.
So I mean, nothing too crazy there.
Yep. No Phillies going.
No Phillies.
No going back.
No. I could see it being kind of a year. Harper's out for a while. Yeah. Like I don't know. I just
did they over exceed expectations a little bit last year after they fired Joe Girardi
I think so. And I just to me they're a team that they're like an injury or two away from just suddenly being in big trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And they've already. I mean, I guess to some extent they've already kind of had that with Bryce Harper being out for a little bit. But I just think that NL East is going to be a big time battle.
Mm-hmm.
And when you stack those teams up, I just think the Braves and the Mets are better teams than the Phillies right now.
I'm pretty much going the same with you, Dodgers, Mets, and then I'll go Brewers. How about that? So the only difference we have is the NL Central winners on that one too. So, okay. Oh, what were you going to say?
Oh, no.
Okay. American League. Let's go west to east here. The American League West. You got the Astros, obviously, defending champs there. You got Ohtani and the Trout and the Angels. You got Seattle that made a push last year. Brandon, you called that one, didn't you? Seattle last year. Texas, they got some money spent down there too. I think everybody just assumes Oakland is not going to do anything this year.
They did win last night, though.
They did win last night. How do you see the AL West playing out for you?
I went Astros. I mean, I think right now they're the most complete team in the in the AL, even with some roster changes there. Astros are still great. They're still awesome.
Yeah. Astros. How can they haven't done anything, I don't think, to like really show that they won't win that. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
they haven't made any moves or anything like that. So yeah, I'll go with the Dusty Baker Houston Astros. How about the AL Central now?
This is one where I made the pick, and now I'm having remorse already.
After one game?
And it has nothing to do with the one game. I just went back and forth on this. But because, like I said, I was trying to go not just chalk.
Mm-hmm.
And the pick I made was the Guardians at first. I mean, I just, to me, they're such an interesting team because they're such a different team, especially their offense.
Yeah.
They're much more of the put the ball in play, speed and defense kind of team, which obviously that worked for them last year. So because I'm a man of my word, I will stick with that. But otherwise, I mean,
Who were you thinking of switching it out with?
White Sox.
Okay.
I think there's still a lot of talent there. Obviously it didn't click for them last year, but I think with the manager change, like I don't know, I just feel like it's a bit of a clean slate for a lot of those players.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got, unfortunately, some things like with Liam Hendricks being away from the team as he's battling cancer, like that kind of stuff. Like that's obviously doesn't help, but I don't know. I just felt like there's always a team that kind of takes a big step forward, and I just think that's a team that has the talent. And I don't look at any team in the Central as a juggernaut. It's not like there is an Astros or a Padres there that are kind of keeping them from maybe reaching that ceiling. So
right.
I will stick with the Guardians because that's what I picked.
Okay.
But, if I had the chance to do it over again, I might pick the White Sox.
So I might get a gauge of what one of your wild card teams might be.
You might.
I went with the Guardians too. They're almost like, was it last? And you're right, because this AL Central, it's almost like a little bit like the last couple of years where Twins, White Sox, or Cleveland.
Yeah, any of those. Yeah, those three teams, you can make a case.
I'm going to stick with the Guardians. Not comfortable with that one, but yeah, I'll stay with that one. How about the East now? The American League East.
I went with the Fighting Dalton Varshows.
Okay.
And the Blue Jays.
Now, last year the Blue Jays didn't live up to the expectations that a lot of people had for them. But can you make the case they got a little bit better this offseason?
I think so. I think so. And plus, I think maybe another year of kind of being in that spotlight, like you're a little more used to it. Like maybe even a bit of a kind of a post-hype sleeper, a bit. Because obviously the Yankees are always going to get a ton of attention there. Red Sox, even though obviously a lot of Red Sox are upset with the last few years and some of the guys that left town, they're always a team that's going to get some buzz.
Can Baltimore redo what they did last year?
And that's going to be an interesting question there because Baltimore's another team. I think there were some fans that thought they could have did a little more, especially helping that pitching staff.
Yeah,
got a couple local kids over there in the battle, between Terran Vavra and Dalton Varsho battling it out. In the AL East, but I'm gonna go with the Blue Jays by a little bit. Over
if JP was still with Tampa Bay, that might be.
Boy, that AL East could have been a.
Yep, exactly. I'm going with Toronto too. I still want a Blue Jays hat, but I'm going to go with Toronto in this one too. But I will say, I'll just tell you right now, one of my Yankees are going to be a wild card team for me. Yeah,
same.
So you got Yankees. Are you going White Sox as well with the wild card team?
No, I didn't. I did not.
Okay. Would that also be a change for you if you could?
No, no, because I just
no other team.
I feel like the winner of the Central is going to be able to have like 88 wins.
Okay.
And I'm not sure whoever second is, even though they've having the Tigers and the Royals to kind of beat up on a little bit. But remember, more balanced schedules this year, so you don't have 18 games against the division foe. I think is what 12 or 13. So that made a difference there. My other two wild card teams are the Mariners.
Okay. Yep.
And I went with the Rays because at this point I will never doubt that the Rays will make the postseason. Like no matter what happens every year, they are consistent. They are always going to be in the picture when you look at their roster and say, how are they in the picture? Because they're just so good at developing.
Yep.
So I'm at this point I will not doubt the Rays.
I went with the Mariners too. I'm going to do it one more time.
All right, one more time.
I'm going to do it one more time.
Come on now.
Angels will make the playoffs. Yeah, Angels in the outfield. Come on. I mean, how do you not make the playoffs with the two best players in Major League Baseball? How do you not do it? Come on.
It's one of those funny things, though, for like if you're a bit of a casual baseball observer, and it's like, wait, so the Angels have like Shohei Ohtani, they have Mike Trout. Like you said, when they're healthy, they have two of the best players in baseball. So they must be really good. It's like, well, no, that's not exactly how baseball works. Like, well, why not? It's like, well, because outside of those two players, they haven't exactly done a great job of surrounding them with other great players. They've tried. They spent big money on Anthony Rendon, but he's hurt. Like they spent one draft on all pitchers. Right.
That's still they can't do anything. Oh man, but I mean, you look at their pitch. I mean, you got Sandoval, I guess.
But then that's it. Like they've got Ohtani, so that's. But that's it. Like it just feels like they could use a top of the rotation guy outside of Ohtani.
Renfroe made a nice catch last night.
He did.
You see that?
He did.
You know who the key for this run though this year for the Angels You know where I'm going to go with this, right? Brett Phillips.
Brett Phillips.
Brett Phillips.
Bringing that defense, bringing that
the
grit,
enthusiasm.
bringing that good teammateness.
He is going to be the key to a playoff run for the Angels. I mean, if there's a guy that could do the Angels in the outfield thing,
yes,
it's Brett Phillips, right? Over under, how many times does he do it this year? Like 1.5. Over. I'll go over.
I'll go over.
Over.
Yeah.
If he doesn't do it at least once, I'll be very disappointed.
Yes. So. And I also did some individual kind of Brewersy predictions, as I mentioned, with the whole bowl prediction thing, which, again, not off to a great start, but it's young.
You do that before we do a World Series pick then.
Okay, sounds good.
Go for it.
I actually never made a World Series pick, so.
Well, now you got like a second to
I got to think about it. Yeah.
What are your Brewers picks, though? I'll do the World Series pick first after you do this.
All right. Well, I mean, I just went pretty basic stuff: best pitcher, best hitter, and then I mean those ones are pretty obvious. I think not exactly groundbreaking, but then I also picked someone I thought
was. Should I hit the breaking news?
But and then also picked someone I thought could be a breakout player, and someone who I think could be a bit of a disappointment this year.
Okay.
So,
what do you got?
My breakout player pitched a scoreless inning yesterday, Peter Strzelecki.
Okay.
I think at this point I'm just going to pick some reliever every year.
Garland made his debut yesterday too.
Yes.
Struck out a guy.
Yeah.
Didn't look like he knew what to do after that.
Scoreless inning. But for this point, I actually had a few different ones I was thinking about with this one. Ultimately, I settled on Eric Lauer.
Okay, disappointing one.
Yeah, just maybe doesn't quite, because I mean there's been times where he's flashed like, oh wow, this could be another top of the level rotation guy. But I don't know. And maybe it wasn't great for him in spring training, but I don't know. I just feel like that's just kind of how it's going to be with him, where he's going to have 2 or 3 starts where he goes 6-7 innings, and then next inning gets kind of shelled the next couple times. So I don't know, like that. I just felt like there may be some expectations there, but I just don't think I think his numbers will pitch like a number 4, number 5 starter, but he'll throw 8 to 10 really good starts, so people kind of think, oh, maybe there's more to it, and that just might be kind of who he is.
Yeah. Do you have any other ones over there?
Nope, that was about it.
You ready for my World Series pick then?
I am.
I am going to go with the Padres taking on the Toronto Blue Jays.
Ooh.
And I will pick the Padres to win. So Padres, Blue Jays, West Coast versus Canada. West Coast wins. Good uniform matchup, too.
Very good uniform matchup, yeah.
All right. Pressure's on you now.
I know. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but I think I got it.
Okay.
I'm going to go with the Braves and the Astros, with the Braves winning.
Okay. That's a popular one, isn't it?
Astros going for 3? Not 3-peat, but
2.
2, but yeah, going for back.
Dusty won his first one last year.
Yes. Yep. So yeah, that's right. But yeah, Astros going back to back, but the Braves.
Yeah, because Braves won it the year before.
They did.
Yep.
Yeah, 2021. So.
Yep. So yeah, it's been Braves, Astros, and then we'll get Braves, Astros in the World Series for you. So, all right. I wanted something different that I think Padres, Blue Jays would definitely be a little different too. So, all right, rest of you, if you haven't made picks, you can do so. Otherwise, come on, send us your top 5 baseball movies of all time and your top 5 sports sounds, so you can be included on the podcast a little bit later on. Tell you what, let's take a quick break, and then we still got like cream of the crop and all that fun stuff going on. Plus, Final Four. We got to make a Final Four pick. Who's going to go to the national championship? Who's going to win the national championship? You feel like it's kind of getting not. Is it just because it's opening day and all that? But I feel like I mentioned it in the first hour. It doesn't seem like the Final Four hype is there.
And look, it's probably part of
it because of the teams in it.
Probably. I mean, let's face it. We remember what it was like last year when we had Duke and North Carolina and Krzyzewski's last tourney and that stuff like it. That's unfortunate, but unfortunately, that's the way some people are going to be.
Right. So we got that, and then there was something else. Oh yeah, we got to talk a little Badgers too. Badger men's got a new hockey coach.
Yeah.
And Jordan Davis no longer with the basketball team. Yep. He's in the transfer portal. So let's take a quick break. We'll finish up that second hour. Don't forget, join in the conversation, text, tweet, Facebook, video stream, all that fun stuff. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. All right, we got a few more minutes to the top of the hour. Reminder: we're going to be at West Side Bar later on this afternoon, about 1-ish or so. But they got a man cave combo going on over there with the man cave light, man cave brats, and then if you take your receipts on over, walking on over to Mike Star Markets, you're going to get $1 off package. So, yeah, we'll be over there. Hopefully, the weather will cooperate here too. We'll be inside, so it's okay.
Yeah.
So
I think it's just going to be rainy until
later
this
tonight.
afternoon, evening.
I ain't shoveling. I'm not I don't care if it's 5 inches, 3 inches, whatever I ain't shoveling. It's gonna be like 50 some Sunday, so it shouldn't melt, right? I'm done. I'm not doing it anymore. Which I know I Googled it. Whenever I see this, I always like, okay, when was the last snowstorm in April? Actually, it was like a couple of years ago or last year or something. So it's more recent than what it seems like.
It's still March.
But tomorrow's April.
Yeah.
That's when it's overnight, Brandon.
But it started in March. It will have started in March.
No, it won't. It'll start after midnight.
You sure?
You gonna stay up and find out?
I might just be up anyway.
I guarantee you I won't be.
No,
So my sleep patterns have drastically changed over the years.
Oh, yes, I can imagine.
Let's do a Carpet City Flooring Center local sports spotlight. And
speaking of people that may not be awake right now,
yeah,
maybe
depending, we're gonna go with Chippewa Steel.
Yeah.
Let's do the Chippewa Steel hockey team.
Yeah,
they're up in Alaska right now.
Yeah,
so.
big weekend last week. 3 points, get a win, and then an overtime loss against the Wendigo.
But the comeback.
Yeah, down 5-1 to start,
the
and
third period,
to come back, force overtime, eventually losing a shootout. But you get up, picking up a point for that. Now they're in the playoffs right now. It's a tough battle, but they're 2 teams they play this week or this up in the trip. Anchorage and Fairbanks. Yes, are hot on their heels, so they can if they keep playing well, like they can help their own cause there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean they're 3 weeks left in the regular season. After those 2 weeks in Alaska, they got one more home series. That's the weekend after Easter weekend, Friday, Saturday. They're at home against the Minnesota Wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want one more chance in the regular season, see the Steel. They've drawn some good crowds here recently.
This past weekend, I was talking to Coach, and
it was the big their last Friday game. They had 900 fans, which was the most they've had at a game there since the first ever game.
Yeah. Coach was showing me a video that he recorded the line that was waiting outside to get in.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, that's got to be a good feeling.
Yes, it is. I mean, that place is packed. I mean, I've seen Chippewa Ice Arena packed over the years, and that was, one of the more busy ones I've seen. So, no, that's great to see. I mean, this is a team that's in the heart of the playoff hunt right now, and they're playing their best hockey.
Yep, definitely. So that should be a lot of fun. Hopefully as Coach said too, hopefully by the time when we come back from Alaska, maybe they'll have something clinched, because he's been kind of talking about too. He's like, one of these days it'd be nice, to maybe not have all that pressure on.
Right, and remember that this is a team that and franchise that was on the, and they're looking for their first playoff berth since they moved to Chippewa. They were on the verge of it. They're literally one good weekend away from doing it in 2020. And then obviously things changed in March of 2020. So, but yeah, so this is a team that's really kind of retooled itself, made some, tough decisions at the trade deadline last year to get younger, some new players coming in as well, along with that. And, they're kind of a bit of a retool, not so much a rebuild, but here they are, battling for a playoff berth and, as hot as anybody right now in the Midwest Division.
Absolutely. All right. We're going to do cream of the crop coming up in the next hour. Plus we'll get our final 4 picks in. Yeah, you laughing because what my new cream of the crop is? Or?
I think we got some. We've each got some good cream of the crops this week.
Yeah,
I like ours.
Kudos to Brandon for giving me the inspiration for my cream of the crop one here. So we'll get to that coming up just past the news updates plus final 4. Then we got some Badger stuff to be talking about. Badger men's hockey have a new head coach, Jordan Davis, entering the transfer portal. Going to be a big offseason for Greg Gard and trying to utilize that transfer portal here too. So, but 2 in already on this Friday morning. As we said, we got some news updates, and then we'll be back kicking it off with a little cream of the crop. The cream rises to the top. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Final hour on this Friday morning. Big thanks to everybody tuning in, especially all of you on the video stream. We're setting some numbers on here. I like it. Don't forget, you can comment on it too. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Aaron, it was good to see him yesterday. He's going to be at West Side today too. He said brought home some Man Cave Light yesterday to enjoy with his supper. Wife drank it all, and she is not a beer fan, but loved Man Cave Light. So, we got to get that thing like bottled or something. Put it in a 6-pack.
There you go.
Put it out there. For certain somebody's listening. Let's work on that. I want to get some swag. I'm going to get some swag too. I don't know how to go about that, but we got to get some swag. So
stress balls.
That's probably a good one for sports fans during football
especially
season,
if you're a
too.
Wisconsin sports fan.
Yeah. Hey, don't sell yourself short over there, big guy Vikings.
Oh,
fan.
I know.
So,
I feel like at this point, if you're a Minnesota sports fan, that goes without saying.
yeah. You kind of like the double edge. You're a Vikings fan, but also Brewers fan too.
And,
so.
and it's funny because it's at one point it was a joke, and really it isn't. But I would always tell people about the teams I cheer for. I would say, well, I cheer for all the Wisconsin teams except the one that wins championships. Until obviously the Bucks a few years ago.
Yeah. You know what? So let's do it this way. We'll do cream of the crop because my cream of the crop kind of leads into this question from John to you, if you catch my drift.
Yes, it does.
It does.
Okay.
Though, if that makes sense. So,
all right.
Cream of the crop time. Yeah. I'll let you go first then.
Yes, because my cream of the crop this week is Conference USA men's basketball. They won the CBI postseason tournament with Charlotte.
Yep.
They won last night. You may not have been paying attention because Wisconsin was no longer in it, but North Texas won the NIT, beating UAB, another Conference USA team.
Yep.
One more Conference USA team still out there, and that's Florida Atlantic.
Yep.
They could do the triple.
Wouldn't that be something?
They could do the Triple Crown. But regardless, like for a mid-major program or conference to be able to do all of that, I mean that's just raising that stock of that conference. And I have to imagine there's probably that the commissioner of that conference is probably suddenly getting some looks from for some bigger jobs.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say, does it make Badger fans feel better that North Texas won? It's probably no, because they had them beat, and then
yeah.
But no, you're absolutely right. Conference USA. And if FAU even just goes to the national championship.
Well, look, they're in the final, like they're already in the Final Four. Like, come on.
Yeah. They're gonna have a banner up for that, and that's fine.
Of course.
You put that up there. So yeah, you're absolutely right. And I wonder if some of those coaches too might be.
I think I had seen that the North Texas coach took the Texas Tech job.
Oh wow, that's a big step. Definitely. So Texas Tech going to be playing a little Wisconsin style basketball now too, because
I guess,
because
because slow, and I think I had seen that the FAU coach said he's staying.
Okay, so that's every this time of year you got all those coaches moving around and that. So that's where I feel bad for some of these programs who made these runs, and then you take a step back. But I wonder with NIL, I was kind of wondering about this the other day. Are we going to see more different teams in the Final Four if these universities can really take advantage of NIL opportunities?
Maybe. Just depends on who.
Yeah. So, all right. My cream of the crop, thanks to Brandon for showing us, because I didn't see it.
Yeah, and I just saw it when I was sitting here during a commercial.
So it was the Dodgers game last night.
Correct.
And a fan went out into the outfield.
Like ran out on the field.
During the game.
Oh,
in between innings.
Yes.
Yeah, switching that up. And then proposed,
he turned back to the bleachers. Looks like in left field. And Mookie Betts, he turned back to the bleachers and gets down on the knee to propose.
Yep. That is not my cream of the crop.
No.
He is not my cream of the crop. My cream of the crop is a security guard who comes into the frame and just lays out the guy in a perfect form tackle.
Yes.
Head up, wrap around, lays him out. If the ESPN still had the jacked up segment, that would be number one. We were talking off the air. This is the thing where, the NFL, they will send clips of the proper tackles or not. They should be sending this to every single team right now. Yeah. That guy was one of the most beautiful tackles I've ever seen in my life.
We were talking about this too off air, but you have to feel like when this guy is like approaching him, he gets about 5 feet away. He's just like, when you do that job, this has to be like the tippy
what you
top of the
dream of,
mountain
like how
because
it's going to play
I'm
out.
going to get this perfect tackle in here. This guy's not moving.
Yep.
And yeah, he just leads. He rips through like everything you look for in a form tackle. Now the only issue here is if it's targeting because of the because it's a because of the angle of the angle of the guy. But you know what? I feel like there's no targeting when you're going out on the field like that.
Yep. Yeah,
So,
I mean, this guy. I mean, the other part is too is like the security guard can see what the guy's doing. He's proposing. He could just, probably like, all right, dude, come on.
Yeah.
No, he just laid him out. It comes in. It's perfect because somebody's recording this, and they don't move it to the security guard coming. You just see the guy coming from the side of the screen, and boom, lays him out. Love it. Cream of the crop, security guard, which then leads into. John has a question for you, Brandon. Who wins the main event of WrestleMania, Cody Rhodes or Roman Reigns?
I am going to take Cody Rhodes, but I don't feel as confident about it as I would have a few weeks ago.
Okay.
So that is the main event of the second night at SoFi Stadium, Sunday night. Should be a doozy.
Now, bear with me here. I'm not a big time, I appreciate my old school wrestling.
Of course.
But I don't know the levels of all. Is WrestleMania the number one?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, it's the biggest.
It is the cream of the crop?
It is the cream of the crop.
Okay.
It is. Yeah, there are 2 nights this year they're at SoFi Stadium. Next year they're going to Philadelphia, going to be outdoors, which is interesting.
Ooh.
They've done some outdoors. They've done like New York, like MetLife. They've had good luck as far as weather goes. That'll be interesting in Philly around this time. But they're at SoFi this year in LA, so no worries about the weather there.
Because we got to do some sports nuggets today yet. But I know the other day it was the Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant.
Yeah, the anniversary that WrestleMania 3 at the Silverdome.
It was like 90-some thousand fans there. So is that still the biggest one? Or
I didn't know. The biggest one I think was 32, which was at Dallas.
Oh,
Jerry
World. Okay.
Yeah, I believe that was the biggest.
Okay. That which makes sense.
And I think that was a big reason. I mean, obviously you want to go there anyway because it is a big venue. But I think that was part of the reason was, hey, we want to, and they did.
There's a couple of angles from this video. I just go. There's a behind the angle one now too.
Oh,
I mean, the guy's hat comes off from the tackle there too. So
wham!
Just boom. Oh, okay. You guys see the behind because the outfielder, whoever this outfielder is, he's got his hands up like he's celebrating his proposal.
Oh,
and then when he sees the guy get laid out, he puts his hands on his head. It's like, oh my God. But yeah, this is pretty epic. So okay. So you're going Cody on there.
Yeah.
All right. I get you.
No.
I agree.
Nope. Yeah.
I agree with your pick.
No Pat McAfee in action this year though.
Everybody kind of I think everybody needs a break from Pat sometimes. Just saying. So, let's talk some Final Four.
Yeah.
Should we do that?
Both of them.
I was just saying, not only the men's Final Four, the women's Final Four begins tonight. Which is, they just finished up their last one on Monday night, but they're first up here for Friday. LSU versus Virginia Tech is the first one. And then after that is going to be Iowa versus undefeated South Carolina. I agree with you, and LSU's got a lot of fanfare, and they're a popular team out there. Virginia Tech's a 1 seed for crying out loud, but you kind of wonder, like, there's a lot of people wish it was Iowa versus South Carolina for the national championship. You have Caitlin Clark with Iowa.
You have the best player against
the best
probably
team.
the best. Yeah, the best team.
I want Iowa to win that game, but I think South Carolina's they're big. They got bigger players down low.
I think they're just too good. I mean, they've got a lot. Look how what's their undefeated streak? It's in like the 40s or something. Yeah, it's like
they're 36-0 right now. So.
Don Staley, outstanding coach. Like, I can't pick against South Carolina.
Yeah, I just Caitlin Clark's going to have to carry the team on her back, on her shoulders, and she can. But the question is that still going to be enough against South Carolina? So. I'm going to go South Carolina in this one.
I'll go LSU and then South Carolina.
Honestly, that's where I was going to go too. I was going to go LSU.
And then South Carolina wins on Sunday.
I feel like, South Carolina, LSU, is it Kim? Coach Kim for LSU, I think is her name.
Probably your 2 best coaches in the women's game.
That one might get a little animated.
Am I?
Might get a little, because if you haven't seen, like, especially Coach Kim, she gets very animated on the sidelines when she's coaching a game.
Mm-hmm.
So, because she used to be at Baylor.
Yes.
She win a championship at Baylor? Do you know off the top of your head? Or
I don't remember offhand.
Okay, but yeah, I'm going South Carolina winning it all. South Carolina LSU, just like you. So let's do the men's side of things here. So we got FAU and San Diego State.
One of those teams is playing for a national title. Yeah. You bet.
Hell, I'm all about it, man. I'm okay with it. What are you going to go with, though?
Man, as much as after I propped up Conference USA, I'm going to go San Diego State because I said last week I really like this San Diego State team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't pick them to beat Alabama, which I think every pick I made from that Friday game I got wrong, which goes to show you shouldn't always take my picks for if you happen to be wagering.
Well, you can use my 5-year-old's picks. He's leading the bracket challenge.
Outstanding.
Well, did you hear Seton from Dan Patrick's wife? Did you hear what happened?
No.
She's got all the Final Fours right.
How'd she do it?
I don't know how she did it, but because they had her on the show. She is leading their bracket challenge, the non-celebrity one, because she's got every single Final Four.
Nice.
That's awesome. So, but
I will take San Diego.
Man, I wish I could quote Anchorman right
there. Yeah, probably right. Not with what goes with that. So
no, dang it. Everybody knows if you've seen that movie.
It means Saint Diego.
Dang it, Brandon. I'm going San Diego State too. I'm going to go San Diego State in this one.
I think we're going to have the same picks here.
Yeah, I want Miami to win. I like Coach Larinaga.
Yeah.
I'd like him. If I had a rooting interest left, I'm going Miami because of him. UConn is just so dominant so far.
Yeah.
They're just so freaking good right now. There hasn't been a game that they've looked uncomfortable or nervous or anything. And I don't think that's going to change. So I'm going UConn.
I will take UConn in that one too. However, in the title game, for the sake of difference, I'm going to take San Diego State somehow, some way.
Okay.
Aztecs.
Yeah, I'm going UConn.
Yeah.
I'm going UConn. They're just...
Cannot blame.
Gosh, Hurley has done a great job with this team. This team has just been... They don't look like a 4 seed.
No.
And I get it. I mean, I'm not questioning why they were there, but, I mean, they've just been so freaking good. So good so far. So I just can't see anything else that would stop that. So UConn's going to get another national championship with a third different head coach. Still kind of hard to believe Kevin Ollie won one there, but that was thanks Wisconsin, or I should say thanks Kentucky for hitting that 3.
All right.
But where is Kevin Ollie?
Andrew Harrison.
Yeah. Where is Kevin Ollie these days? I don't know. Is he coaching anymore? I'm going to Google it for you.
I was wondering, did he run into some issues?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I really don't. So, what is he doing these days? He is Overtime Elite. Coaching Overtime Elite. Is that a G League thing?
I think so.
Okay. I'm not quite sure. So, yeah. Overtime Elite and outside. Yeah. Basketball development. Okay. So, that's a big old what if. Wisconsin wins the national championship that year if Harrison doesn't make that 3, right?
That's what I'm going to say. But Kevin Ollie was fired in 2018 for just cause after a 3-year investigation. There were compliance issues. So
gotcha. Okay. So, all right, we've got pretty much the same Final Four picks from both the men's and women's team.
Following it up, and I remember his name being in the news last year, and in 2022, arbitrator ruled that UConn improperly fired him and ordered the university to pay him the back pay.
Wow.
So there we go.
Yeah.
So
there. The more you know.
I was saying, the interest of making sure we tell the full story here. That's what happened. He got fired. Eventually found out that, probably wasn't fired fully with cause. So he got all his money.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's tell you what, let's take a quick break. And then I want to talk some more baseball with this thing. This might've been for a lot of you, a lot of us, first time to see, the rule changes in play, pitch clock, all that stuff. We saw a little bit last night yesterday for the game, right? The pitcher was hitter violation. Taking too long?
Well, Marcus Stroman was the first person to get called for either of them. So
yep, you're right.
So that was about all that went wrong for him.
you had bigger bases. I think that's kind of like the third one in this.
Well, I had seen that the day one steals were up.
Yes.
And successfully as well.
Yep. I was going to bring that up.
Which I do like that. Like, well, and we can go through each of these rules, I guess, then. But there are certainly rule changes that I do like a lot more than others.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree. So let's take a break and kind of, because I did save that tweet, but the stolen bases.
You did? Okay, good. Because I saw it, but then I kind of scrolled by it.
I did the that whole debate. Do you like it, or is it just because you're bookmarking it, essentially? Can they change the like? Elon, if you're listening, can you change like to like bookmark or something? Because I'd rather do it that way. I miss out on stuff because I'm like, I don't want to like it because I don't agree with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I want to bookmark it.
Yeah.
So, all right. We'll take a break and get back to more baseball talk. Your thoughts on if this was your first time seeing some of the rule changes in place? We want to hear from you. Don't forget to grab your tickets for the Packers Tailgate Tour, April 11th. I hope it's not August yet. April 11th, their first stop's going to be in Eau Claire at the Lismore. Reminder, all proceeds are helping the Bolton Refuge House. So just head to boltonrefugehouse.org/Packers and grab your tickets. We'll be over there too. I'll be helping emceeing the event. So again, $50 for your tickets. All proceeds going to help Bolton Refuge House, which is the most important thing there. So grab your tickets now before they are all gone, and we'll see you on the 11th. So let's talk some more baseball here, Brandon. First for many for the new rule changes and such. We saw a little bit with the Brewers and the Cubs game and such, but probably first impressions for many who probably didn't watch it in spring training or something like that. But I mean, I don't think anything too extreme happened, right? I mean,
no. I mean, the biggest thing is obviously, I think the pace of the game being quicker.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's to be expected. That's what it was in spring training, and
and there's going to be some instances where maybe it's going to be a 3-hour game.
Yeah.
Just if it's a higher scoring game, I got to imagine.
Of course, but yeah, I mean, the Brewer game was a 4-0 game, or all the scoring was done in 1/2 inning. So everything else, moved right along.
You mentioned the stolen base thing. So stolen base opening day comparison last year, there were just 5 stolen bases last year. 4 of them were caught stealing. 2023 yesterday, 21 stolen bases, only 2 were caught stealing. That's quite the jump.
Yes,
that is quite the jump. And I know you've talked about before, like even in the offseason with the Brewers, how they're constructing their team and such. But I think this is a good thing for baseball, right? More steals,
more
get
action,
more aggressive on the base pass.
You're
sort
trying
of
to
thing.
use, you're being a little bit more athletic. Yeah, that's, like I said, of all the rules, this is one I didn't, the bigger bases is one I didn't really mind because I think that's a better brand of baseball. You got more action going on.
Yeah. So do you think that's going to be part of the plan for if they can actually get base runners on? Because you got a Bryce Terang, you've got a Garrett Mitchell, Christian Yelich led the team in stolen bases last year.
There's people that can move.
Willie Adames, I'm assuming you put him in there.
I mean, but I think a lot of teams are going to be in that boat. So I mean, I think you could definitely see it go up for the Brewers, but I think it's also going to for a lot of other teams as well, just because that's that's kind of the way it's moving.
Yeah, I'd like to see it. I'd like to see them, especially for a team that. Who knows? I mean, we got 161 more of these to go, but maybe a team that is going to struggle to consistently put up runs via the bat. Would you be more aggressive? And I feel like, Craig Counsell played in an era where it was that.
And even the first year, Craig Counsell, like the first year or two that he managed, the team was very aggressive on the base as far as like stolen base and stuff. And that was, I think part of that was the personnel they had, but the personnel now matches up a little bit more. Now I get it where, when you had you had Travis Shaw and Mike Moustakas and those guys, you're not going to steal many bases there. But I think you kind of suit your style to your personnel, and you've got some guys that can run.
Yeah. So I would be curious to see if this actually does transition. I mean, this is just day one numbers, but I got to imagine I can't imagine it's going to drastically change in the other way at this point with the stolen bases and such. Right. I mean, so I think it's good for baseball to get that more active too.
Yeah.
And a little bit more, to quote SNL, strategery involved in this thing from the managers side of things.
And even like as a fan watching with
the pickoff thing too, I think you have to imagine because there's the max that you can do that.
Yeah, you can't just throw over. Although it's going to give home teams something else to have to boo when the visiting team throws over, once or twice and they're getting showered with boos, which I've never understood.
Right. Yeah. It's just like
find something else to boo.
So to me, that might be a perfect thing here, Brad, is like, okay, if you are one that complains about the game length, like, well, who cares if it's, 3.5 hours? You better not be one that's booing if there's pickoff attempts for the third or fourth time. You're booing that. You can't be like, oh, I love 4-hour games because that's why you're booing. Is you're like, okay, just get the game going.
That's
the ball.
Right.
That's why you're booing. So But I don't think anybody's going to be the next Ricky Henderson with stolen bases.
No,
with that or set records that way. But you can look at the last few years and see like stolen base leaders and how it's just dropped in terms of the amounts. I mean, for the longest time, there was like, hey, if you got 20, you were feeling pretty good.
And I remember, I think it was in 2003 when Scott Pasednik led the NL. I think it was like 70.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, obviously, more recent years that's gone down a little bit. But
let me bring up the list here for I don't want career, I want season by season on here, and just kind of compare what it used to be. All right, single season leaders. No, that's not it either. But yeah, I mean, you're talking like Ricky Henderson was second with 130. You got to go back to 1887. Hugh Nickel with 138. But now it's like, I wonder, what do we got here? It ain't even close to that.
2004, Scott Pasednik stole 70 bases.
Okay. Do you have the list in front of you, or
no? But I'm sure I can find it.
Okay. I got it right here. Never mind. I got it. It's okay, Brandon.
Okay, Dan.
Okay. Yeah, 35 was the leader last year. Is it Jorge Mateo from Baltimore in the American League?
Mm-hmm.
And then Whit Merrifield with Kansas City had 40. Yeah, so you're talking like 35, 40. National League, I mean, it was last year was 41. Okay, Trey Turner in 2021 had 32. I'm trying not to look at 2020 because it's so small, but that's a short season there. So, I mean, you're talking 30s and 40s, but I mean, you go back to 86, you had 107. 87 was 109. Even in like the early 90s, Marquise Grissom was in the 70s.
Yeah,
on there. So, could you see the stolen base leader this year get in the 70s?
Or
is that too big of a jump?
Maybe that's too big of a jump right off the bat, but I could see
like D. Gordon 50, had 64.
Yeah.
Hey, Jonathan VR in 2016 led the National League 62. He had 62 in that year. Was that might have been the year? Was that with Craig Counsell?
Yeah, that was his first full year because he took over
in 15.
Yeah,
after we were coming back from the draft in Chicago.
That's right. Yeah,
man, that was 8 years ago already. Holy moly! So, but yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, D. Gordon is like D. Gordon, Jonathan VR, D. Gordon, right on there. But then Michael Bourne, remember him from the Astros? He was a fast guy there too. 50? Is that reasonable?
I think so.
High.
I think it'll climb.
50?
And also the other thing too is it puts into play the value of having a good defensive catcher.
That's something we were talking about yesterday, and I was kind of wondering too, like, this would have almost been like the perfect year for Yadier Molina. Wouldn't it have been like for the defensive purpose? I'm glad he's not around because, Cardinals wise, but it's like, team. You kind of wonder if this would have been a year for Yadier Molina if you maybe a little bit younger, but really would have excelled with defensive catching, throwing it down to second base and that too. So, it's going to be interesting, I think, as the season progresses with some of these rule changes. I think the bigger bases thing, how much of an effect do you think that's really going to have on baseball? I mean, what do you think is going to be the biggest effect we see this season with the bigger bases? Is it steals?
Probably steals.
Just because there's going to be less caught stealing?
Probably.
Sort of thing.
And obviously that kind of works a little bit with the,
I know people were talking about the Brewer game last night with Tellez. Did he tag the guy or not?
Yeah. But I think that also is one of those things that I think is going to work with the, limited engagements, as they refer to it. Basically the amount of times you can throw over. I think those things are going to kind of work together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but hey, I'm willing to see which, if you had to pick one of these rule changes that you think, how do I want to phrase this, that may not make the biggest difference in baseball, what do you think it would be? And I guess on the flip side of that too is like, maybe for some people, I know Jeff Passan was talking about it again yesterday. Just how big is this rule change for the pitch clock in terms of like, this is a major change in a professional sports league. Like Jeff was talking about that quite a bit. He's like, especially for a sport like baseball that has been around and doesn't have a lot of, we don't have a lot of major shakeups, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was this is major shakeup in terms of a rule change. And maybe we don't quite realize that yet. Or maybe just kind of casual fans.
I think the thing that maybe helps that case is the fact that it's been done in the minors.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember having the conversation this past offseason with Terran Vavra about the rule changes because, I was talking to him and obviously, playing in the minors, he's seen all of these things. So I'm like, what do you think? He says, I love it. He goes, I think it's going to be great for baseball. I think people are going to really like it because he saw firsthand how it sped up games, just how it, it was in small ways, but a lot of small things leading to something bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So but it's right. You don't see that. I mean, this would be like college football doing away with the stopping the clock on first downs.
That's a good one.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I was because MLB.com has opening day of first for the pitch timer new rules, and Christian Yelich was, as he talked about, he was the first one, right? Yesterday,
he had to be the first one
the
out.
benefit of the pitch timer from yesterday. But as he kind of noted too, as the season progresses, something that becomes rarer and rarer as people
get used to it.
Get used to it a little bit more in that sense too. So. But you know what? It's going to be a bigger debate, though, if it does happen in a high moment situation.
Yeah, if there's and honestly, it probably will at some point. All I know is it seems like Ryan Braun probably got it at a good time because he wouldn't be able to adjust his gloves after every pitch.
That might have actually helped him towards the end of his career, though. Just say
it's true.
Just say not to be a Debbie Downer or anything like that, but no. But all right, so we've got Brandon Woodruff on the mound tomorrow because no game today.
Against Justin Steele, lefty for the Cubs, and then Sunday I believe it is Eric Lauer versus Jamison Tyone.
Mm-hmm. And then it's Freddie Peralta
for the home opener Monday afternoon.
So, looking at these matchups here, how do you view the Cubs this year? Because you look at their lineup. I mean, they got names.
Yeah,
but are they still playing up to that level? Like,
I think they're a team that
you got the other version of Christian Yelich on their team with Cody
Bellinger. I was having that
Bellinger.
conversation with Bob yesterday about how crazy it is that 4 years ago Yelich and Bellinger were the two best players on the planet. Arguably two of the best baseball players on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're.
What's wrong with them?
Yeah, right. But yeah, I mean, I think the Cubs are a team that, if they get good health, because some of those players that they have can be injury prone at time. We've seen it with Bellinger's had some issues. Marcus Stroman. If they're healthy, they could be around. I think they're still a little bit away from being like on even footing with like the Brewers or even more so the Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
But they could be like if another team in the NL Central is going to do it, it's going to be them.
So
the Reds have some young
Brewers,
pitching, but
Cubs,
I'm still not sure about their offense. The Pirates, obviously,
Are they going to trade Brian Reynolds this year?
I don't know. Maybe. I heard that they blew through their opening day deadline for some sort of extension. So I mean, if he's playing like Brian Reynolds at the deadline, he would be a hot commodity.
Yeah, for a third year in a row, it seems like, or fourth, or whatever the heck it is.
Yeah, because a couple of years ago, there was talk that the Brewers had reached out about him.
Yep. Yeah, and then I still think I chuckle because this is like getting more talk now. Is he the third or fourth highest paid member on the Reds?
Ken Griffey Jr.
Jr. I'm not. You know what? After seeing him in the batting cage at the World Baseball Classic, he might be their third or fourth best hitter, at least on their team right now.
And there will come a time where people bring that up about the Brewers because Christian Yelich for his deferments.
Is Ryan Braun still getting paid too?
They've got there are deferments, and that's just something that some of these smaller-ish teams have done to try to have a little extra cash.
Mm-hmm.
Which again, I think we've had this conversation too. If I was a player, I would.
I think it's smart.
Yeah, I mean, I would rather get
the Bobby Bonilla $1 million every July.
Yeah, 1st that's awesome. Hey, and look, and that's the thing. Like, it's funny every July 1st or whatever it is when it's Bobby Bonilla Day, but Bobby Bonilla, he's not to defend the Mets a little bit. He's not the only the Mets aren't the only one that's ever done that.
Right.
The Bobby Bonilla one's just stretched out more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you know what you're getting every single day. You can kind of budget it, and I think that's fantastic. I think that's a great idea.
Yes, this year, well, the Brewers are paying $2.5 million deferment for Colt Wong. They are paying Ryan Braun $1.8 million, and they're paying Lorenzo Cain $1 million.
Man, what's the deferments for Yelich? Do they have that listed on there?
I can find it for you.
Okay, I wasn't sure if they had that on there or not.
Yep, it should be. I just gotta look at his deferments. Yeah, it's $2.3 million.
Okay.
From 2031 to 2042.
2042.
$28 million spread over that 12 years.
That's 19 years from now?
Yes. Because his contract right now, his contract runs through 2028. There's a mutual option for 2029. And yeah, the deferments start in 2031.
Interesting.
When he's 39 years old. Think about that. From 39 through 50, he's getting mailbox money.
Yeah.
You just go out to the mailbox, you pick up the check.
Yep.
And I don't know if that's like a weekly thing or if that's going to be like a one lump sum happy Christian Yelich Day kind of a thing, but
interesting.
Yep.
All right. We got to take our final break here, and then coming up, we'll talk some more hoops. Bucks got dominated.
Yeah.
By the Celtics last night.
It could have been a really fun Wisconsin sports day yesterday, but then it wasn't.
No, it was. Plus, we got to get to that Badger
news,
Badger stuff too. So, in case you missed it in the first hour, we were talking a little bit about it. Badger men's hockey has a new coach, and Jordan Davis will no longer be with the men's basketball team, entering the transfer portal. So, our final break, and then we finish up things on this Friday morning after these few words. Jordan Davis will no longer be playing basketball for the Wisconsin Badgers. Yesterday it was reported that he is entering the transfer portal. No word on where he's going
No,
or
that's
what.
going to
but,
obviously take some time.
I mean, I guess probably not too surprised. He did have a starting job at the year.
Once he lost the starting job to Connor Essegian, I think this was something that wasn't too much of a surprise. And now, now we're going to see as far as the roster turnover here with Wisconsin.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think they're going to be necessarily picky in the transfer portal. I mean, they need a big, they need some guards, they need a closer.
Greg Gard said himself, and there's been rumblings also that they've been active, and Jim Polzin had a really nice column at the start of the week about that, just how awkward that is.
Yeah.
Because you're still playing now. I think Greg Gard told him that it's it really at this point it's kind of punishing the coaches that are still playing.
Yeah.
And it's it's kind of interesting that it starts now.
That's a good point. Yeah.
But yeah, so you kind of have to have 1 foot out, 1 foot in, because you have to be doing yourself the justice of looking ahead and seeing what. But while you're still worrying with this year's team, like that's just going to be a weird situation.
I think you and I have talked about it in the past, but does that also kind of like add more fuel to the notion that these collegiate teams now almost need, and some do have it, a general manager?
Yeah.
Like to do focus on that and lack of a better phrase, player acquisition.
Yeah, someone that a coach can say, hey, this is kind of what we would be looking at, and then have that person kind of be able to kind of work like an intermediary, kind of to at least get the ball rolling and say, hey, we're still. I mean, cause you can use that as a recruiting pitch too. Hey, we're still playing. We're interested in you, but we're still playing. Our coach wants to focus on that. However.
Yep. Yeah, we'll see how outside Wisconsin. That's the thing too. Transfer portal. There's gonna be a lot of competition for.
There is,
but
there is.
We'll see. Sticking with the Badgers though, Mike Hastings is going to be the new men's hockey coach. You want to know a little bit about him? I mean, he's a longtime hockey coach. He's not one of those like new, young, up and coming, assistants or younger guys. I mean, this is a guy that's been coaching for 25 seasons. And if you look at it, he's directed his teams to winning marks in all 25 seasons. He has served as head coach, including the last 11 seasons at Minnesota State. 8 NCAA tournament appearances, a pair of Frozen Fours, 21 and 22, NCAA title game in 2022, 3-time National Coach of the Year. He's got a pretty darn impressive resume, doesn't he, Brandon? Mike Hastings over there. So
Chris McIntosh, once again, not messing around.
I think I saw somewhere that Hastings is making double, which, I mean, okay, Badgers are a step up, probably in terms of like money wise.
Yes, as far I mean, certainly Minnesota State in large part because of Coach Hastings, a really good hockey school. But yeah, and I'm sure look, the money matters, but also the opportunity to kind of again go into a bit of a higher profile and the chance to be the one to build that program back up. Like he does that. I mean, you're pretty well set.
He did have a little bit of a experience with the Big Ten. He was an assistant with Minnesota for 1 year in 2008, so he's a little familiar. But I know that was a while ago. But still, I mean, you look at some of his numbers, especially like with Minnesota State, 299, 109, and 25, which is a 719 win percentage, which ranks him as the nation's active leader in win percentage and gives him the 3rd highest mark in NCAA men's hockey history. That's some pretty darn good accolades.
Right.
Now, we'll see if that can transition over to Wisconsin. But
once again, you understand the thought process. Like if it doesn't work, like you can't look back and say, well, that was a dumb move. Like the accomplishments, the accolades, the resume is there.
Yeah. And I would ask Badger fans this: would you take what he did at Minnesota State the last 11 years, or maybe the last couple of years, compared to what last couple of years have been like for Wisconsin hockey?
I'm assuming so. I mean, come on, a couple.
And there was, I know, the 1 seed a couple of years ago, but how did that work out? The Cole Caulfield, season. So, but yeah, you're right. I think that's a big time. That's a good hire on paper.
That's a big get. That was the best part of the Wisconsin Sports Day yesterday.
Yeah, you're right. Because the Bucks domination.
Woof.
140 to 99.
And you can make the case maybe it wasn't even that close.
Yeah. So my question I had in the first hour was, you look at the 3 games. So Boston has won the regular season series. Milwaukee is still up 2 with 5 to go. Milwaukee, the one game they did beat the Celtics was an overtime win without Tatum and Brown, if you remember that game.
That's right.
If you are, and Tatum has just like been lights out against the Bucks as of late.
Torched them.
If the Bucks have home court, and I'm not just looking at last night's game because I don't want to overreact to just one. I'm looking at the season series, factoring a little bit last year. If it is Boston, Milwaukee, Eastern Conference semis or Eastern Conference championship,
It would be championship. Yeah.
How nervous would you be?
Very.
Yeah.
Because I think this Boston team, because of its athleticism, like its ability to create, that just makes life difficult for the Badgers. Probably definitely would make life tough for the Badgers, but for the Bucks, like they just have a bunch of really good players that are really versatile, like that can just do a lot of different things. Like it's tough to defend when you just have so many guys that can kind of take over. And obviously we saw in the postseason last year, they had some role players that hit some big shots too. But yeah, you mentioned Tatum Brown, like, Malcolm Brogdon had some moments too last night. Like I would be very concerned. Like this is a darn good Boston team again.
Yeah. For whatever reason, Tatum has been given Tatum and Brown the last couple of games have been just given the Bucks fits.
Some teams are just bad matchups for other teams. I just think the Boston is a bad matchup for Wisconsin, for Milwaukee. I'm all over the place.
No, I mean, and you could say the same thing. Giannis has had success against Boston too, but yeah, I'd be a little nervous. I think it would go 7, and that's where again I will go back to where I think the 1 seed is so important because let Boston and Philly just beat up on each other in the semis,
right?
And you hope you're looking for a little bit of an advantage at that point,
a crumb of advantage.
Yes, but man, Tatum has. I was looking at what he did in the playoffs last year against the Bucks, and it was like after he scored that 10 points, he pulled a Jordan and said he got offended because then he went over 30 and 40 points.
And I took that personally.
And I took that personally, and he took it out on the Bucks, and he's taken it out on the Bucks since then when they held him to 10 points because he has just been
even good.
Yeah, so it's kind of weird too. Like him and Giannis, their names have kind of fallen off on the MVP talk.
It's Jokic and Embiid, but I mean, both of those guys have some pretty good cases on arguably better teams.
That's the thing is like, I think they're getting penalized because they are on better teams. Because people are gonna say Tatum's got Brown. Yep, and Giannis has Drew Holiday, All-Stars. Yep, get it.
But Embiid has James Harden.
Yeah. And I would argue, and I'm not going to argue with too many people. You take Joker off the Nuggets, and they're probably not. No, they're probably not the 1 seed.
No.
But again, why do you penalize good players because they have a good team?
Yeah, this isn't LeBron being surrounded by Anderson Varejao.
Right. I mean, if we're gonna, and I've gone back and forth with myself on this. That's where I always get careful with the whole. You take that player off their team. How do they look for the most valuable argument? Because you could say that for like the top 10, 15 players in any sport.
Right.
You say that in football with your starting quarterback.
Right.
You take that starter off. Most of them are, they're going to suck after that.
What do the Vikings look like without Justin Jefferson on offense?
Right.
Probably not great.
Yeah. So I think now we're getting so caught up on like for MVPs, at least in the NBA maybe, why are we penalizing good players, great players, MVP caliber players because they're on good teams? Do you just change the award then to best player on a lower level team or something? You know what I'm getting? And the Nuggets are the 1 seed, but if it was a NBA Finals championship between the Bucks and Nuggets or Celtics and Nuggets or 76ers and Nuggets, I'm taking Eastern Conference.
Yep.
I would take the Eastern Conference over the Nuggets in any one of those scenarios. In fact, if it was like Nuggets and Suns in the Western Conference Finals, I might pick Suns, to be honest with you. If it got to that, I think I might pick the Suns.
Yeah.
Just they're deeper.
Yeah.
If they're all
plus
healthy.
You assume by that point, KD's up to speed with them. And
yeah. Booker's still there. Yeah. DeAndre Ayton's still there. So, I honestly, that might be a second-round matchup. Wouldn't that suck for the Nuggets?
Juicy.
If, like, the Suns were the 4 or 5?
They'd be the one you won't want to face.
But I feel like it's the NBA champions going to come from the Eastern Conference this year. That's just, call me biased or what, but I think whoever gets through the East, if it's one of those three, I would probably pick them to win the NBA Finals, barring health or injuries or
something crazy.
Yeah, unless the Suns just look like they are lights out when KD's up to speed and healthy, and they're like, ooh, yeah, nope. They're gonna run the table on that one, which I hope selfishly KD doesn't. I don't want another Bucks Suns finals. I want Bucks and somebody else. Did you see Mannix on DP the other day?
Mm-mm.
Pretty much guaranteeing the Lakers were going to win the West. You want to go on that hill? Go for it. I ain't going on that hill.
Nope.
I'm not going on that hill. No, thank you. If you're looking at the latest standings here too, because there's just like, depending on your team, Bucks have five games left. Only 4 teams in the East have clinched a spot. Only 3 teams in the West have clinched spots. So a lot to play for in this last week or so. But Bucks wise, they've got that game against Philly on Sunday. So
it's a big one. Celtics are going to be big Sixers fans.
Yeah, I'm just kind of looking at the Celtics schedule coming up here. They've got the Jazz tonight, it looks like. Yeah, the Jazz tonight. What's the rest of their schedule here? So, I mean, Celtics, ooh. Okay. So Philly and the Bucks are on Sunday. Then it's Boston and Philly on Monday.
Oh, that's a tough back-to-back for Philly.
Yeah. That might be a game to keep an eye on if you're a Bucks fan too. Because I let's just say this. I will pick Boston to win tonight. What if Milwaukee loses to Philly on Sunday? You need to be a Philly fan then against Boston.
Yes, you do.
Otherwise, now, because then after that,
Boston. Because if they tie, Philly
has a tiebreaker.
Or Boston gets.
Boston gets a tie.
Yeah, yep.
Because after this, Boston has Toronto, Atlanta. I'm feeling pretty good if you're a Boston fan after that. So, yeah, 3rd and 4th going to be 2 big days in terms of Eastern Conference standings. So, all right, we're going to get cut off here in the next minute. So, a few hours, we'll be over at Westside Bar and Grill, west side of Eau Claire, if you want to partake in a little man cave combo and such. So, we'll see you then. Otherwise, you got Final Four starting tonight for the women's. Men is tomorrow. Brewers, Cubs, back in action tomorrow too. So even with the snow and the weather coming, you got some stuff that you can watch on the TV, right? I don't know what the weather's supposed to be like in Chicago this weekend. I don't know if they're getting any of that. No, I don't know. Who knows? But all right, so get that, and then on Monday, obviously, we'll be then the Bucks and 76ers on Sunday. So you got it's gonna be a 7:00 tip-off on Sunday. Perfect. Watch the Brewers win the series against the Cubbies on Sunday, and watch the Bucks take down the 76ers on Sunday. So, all right, that's going to do it for us. DP and the Danettes are up next. Have a good weekend, everybody. If I don't see you at the West Side, we'll talk to you all on Monday morning, just past 6.